All right, here we go. DL Hughley back on VladTV.
All it took was tequila and cigars, and we were right
Tequila
back,
and
baby.
cigars. That's all it takes.
I'm such a cheap date.
Welcome back, man.
Thank you, man. Always good to see you, man.
Always. Well, there's a lot going on right now,
Sure.
but I think first and foremost, we have to talk about the whole Diddy situation.
Yes. Well, now we know his name is Diddy, huh? Diddy or didn't he, huh? This is...
Diddy or did he not?
Here's the thing. My position is really the same as the Constitution. I think you're innocent until proven guilty. But I do find it amazing that every time somebody's accused of something, there are any number of people closely associated with that ordeal that can corroborate things. Like I heard some of his bodyguards talking about how there was champagne bought and the champagne was drugged and they were told to stay away from the champagne bottle, certain champagne bottles they stayed away from, certain they took, and that allegedly he went around and put drugs in people's mouths. Here's the thing. If you watch that shit and you didn't say nothing about that shit, you're just as horrible as he is if it happened. So I think that horrible people need accomplices too. And they can't do, like, it's amazing how when I watch, I guess America won't get it or people won't get it until there is a documentary or a Gayle King interview. Because apparently our ears are connected to a remote control. But if he did the things that he's accused of, it is consistent with the type of things that people have done that are kind of morally bankrupt. And they surround themselves with people who are morally bankrupt and who abet them. And then those people go on to do interviews and sell interviews about the very horrors that they were accomplices to. It's insane to me.
Well, yeah. Cassie sued him for $30 million.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as that happened, his lawyers responded, said that this is nonsense,
Right.
and she's been trying to extort him,
Right.
and she's going to write a tell-all
Right.
book. But in less than 24 hours,
Right.
he settled.
Well, see, like, I don't know that means paying somebody off. Means, like, you can't accept that it meant that it was Puffy's admission of guilt and not accept that Michael Jackson was not guilty. You know what I mean? When he paid that lawsuit.
Right.
So
a settlement does not mean guilt.
Right.
I have had multiple lawsuits, and
Yes.
I've settled not because I was guilty. It was because it was ultimately cheaper to settle than to go through the legal process.
As have I.
I get it, but I did not settle those lawsuits in less than 24 hours either.
Well,
that made it look a little crazy, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
but I can say this, that I like you have been sued and settled, and it's the timing issue. I don't think that anything in and of itself means anything, but you are the things you've done. You are the things you've done. If enough people, the thing that I find interesting is, remember that we talked about this a couple times ago. Mm-hmm. They had that the documentary on Freaknik.
Yes, which
right?
isn't out yet, is it?
No, because they and then junked it in. But there were a lot of people on Freaknik, right, who didn't want the things that they had been done to potentially have been caught on tape, right? Now, if those things exonerated them or proved that something they didn't want to happen, proved that something that they didn't want to happen was happening, it wouldn't be a problem you seeing those things. But if they don't, then to me, people do all kinds of things and then, have a different perspective of them. So I'm willing to believe that willing to wait till all the facts came out. But to your point, it does seem curious that right after I found out you tried to kill Suge and right after that, it does seem a little curious.
Yeah, and I mean, the allegations were crazy. Now, I had never heard that Kid Cudi's car got blown up.
Me neither.
But apparently he confirmed that his car got blown up. Now, I have owned probably maybe 15 cars throughout my life.
Right.
I have yet to have one blow up.
I had a 1967 Volkswagen blow up, but Puffy was nowhere in the scene, and I didn't know Cassie. So I think I've had that happen.
Really?
Volkswagen beat.
But that was a 67.
Right.
So I don't think that
I
Kid
wasn't seeing
Cudi-
abroad, and then it blew up after that.
Right.
So no, you're right. You're right.
Right. I have dated many women in my day. I have yet to ask any of them to go find a male prostitute that's well endowed for me to watch them
No.
have intercourse
No.
with them. That's just something I've never done.
Not right. Nor have I. But here's the thing. When we're talking about predilection, somebody might be predisposed to dig a thing, as opposed to somebody being coerced or forced into an act. Because I don't know where one line begins and one doesn't. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I've never in my movies I got a one dick star. That's me. That's it for me. That's what I am. People can like what they like.
Yeah.
What I find repulsive is if, and there are people who I don't know what level of belief or credibility these allegations have. I can't say. I'm not one of these people that go, you got to believe her just because. But if enough people say enough things, it's at least curious.
Yeah. And I just think the lawsuit with the level of detail that was
It was a lot of
into
detail.
It was a lot of detail.
Mexicans haven't detailed a car that good. If you found somebody with a detailed service like that, you'd hire them. I'm like, wow, this is...
You got to hire Cassie's
Right.
lawyer.
Wow.
to work on your
Wow.
car because his level of detail
But
is
here's the thing that
exquisite.
really fucked me up, right?
Okay.
It was that level of detail, and you settled because what else was coming after that? Like if something was worse than that,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he knew about the lawsuit because a lot of times when it comes to these types of lawsuits, you will send the complaint to the person before
Yes.
you file.
Yeah, I know.
And you know how this works. You know how this works. And they can look at it and say,
Oh, this ain't so bad.
I'm gonna fight this,
Yeah.
or they're gonna say, let's take care of this before it hits
Right.
the public.
Yes. Yes.
Clearly, he did not deal with this before it hit the public, because when it hit the public, it was insane. And there was other people that were mentioned in it, and some of those other people, like Roger Bonds, the security guard, basically said, I'm not disputing any of these facts, and I got 4 daughters of myself,
Right.
and so forth. But he did stay employed with Puffy.
So wait. You had those 4 daughters while he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
To me, when somebody says bullshit like that, then they were willing to live off his largesse until it didn't serve them anymore.
Right.
So you lose credibility. The one thing I can say unassailably that is absolutely true about Sean Puffy Combs, the one thing I know unequivocally he's guilty of, is serving the nation's Ciroc. That's the fucking, you can't deny that. Anybody that came up with pineapple Ciroc is guilty of a lot of shit anyway. So I can't even say that. But the other things, you know, if you were if a mob boss was testifying against one mob boss, they would look at the things he had done or allowed to happen to assess his credibility. And I think it's the same thing for me with these people. Like, you allowed this shit to happen. You didn't say anything about it. You lived off his largesse. You ate at his table. You participate. And then everybody else, I don't care whatever story happens, everybody's the hero of the story they're telling. Everybody.
Well, yeah, because you can't deny the fact that Cassie was with Puffy for like 10 years.
Right.
10 years.
Right.
So all this time, and she would leave, come back. So obviously she liked the lifestyle. She liked what he was providing.
Something.
You know, because if it was like, okay, he hit me and then I was out.
Right.
And then now I'm suing over that
Right.
incident. No, she came back and
Right.
came back.
Right.
And they would break up, come back, break up, come back, break up, come back. He had baby mothers
Right.
that he was still dealing with and
Right.
so forth. And, you know, and there was probably abuse on both sides.
Sure.
Because if a man gets hit by a woman, that's considered no big deal.
Right.
But if he does anything in response, then he's the bad guy.
If we take the metric of time, if we make these allegations 20 years earlier, nobody says anything about it. Nobody.
I don't know.
Nobody. Hey, look,
I
20
mean, we
years
are
ago,
in the Me Too era, so yeah. I mean, there is a
20
point to
years
that.
ago, Bill Cosby was America's favorite dad.
Yeah, this is true.
So R. Kelly was still making hits 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Harvey Weinstein was
Miramax.
Hollywood royalty.
So we are victims of skewing history through our perspective of it, right? it doesn't mean that it was just like slavery was always horrible. Doesn't mean it's less horrible now. This kind of conduct was always horrible. Doesn't mean it's less horrible now.
Mm-hmm.
It was a function of the time, or some of these things were a function of the time. I think that if a dude, like, there are men that I have known that have, when this thing happened with Puffy, what I had to do, how many men do I know that have been in my circle that even have an inkling of these tendencies? And I had to say that it makes me uncomfortable to know that I've potentially been around people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think that far too many men, far too many people have this perspective.
Well, not surprisingly, as soon as he settled with Cassie, there was a bunch of other lawsuits that fell in his lap. One of which was made by a woman who was a Jane Doe, I believe, that accused him and Aaron Hall of sexually assaulting him.
I saw Aaron Hall's Vlad interview.
Yes. The Aaron Hall VladTV interview, I'm sure, did not help his case.
It helped the DA's case. I say this. It is.
Well, to be fair, Aaron Hall never talked about sexually assaulting someone, but he did say, Puffy seen me fuck.
Right. So here's what I'll say. And back to what I talked about earlier with the whole freak dick things. Some people participated in things that in the light of day they are upset or ashamed that they perhaps did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's very likely. I can't say that somebody wouldn't admit to a crime on an interview because so many people have. So many people have unwillingly said things. I will say that
willingly said things.
Yeah, or willingly.
Yes.
And thought that it was just, I will say that with the passage of these a couple of decades, things that were once commonplace and acceptable are now not. And people that didn't have a voice now do. And things that would have passed the sniff that don't. So, and again, I don't think that you should be allowed to be a Jane Doe. I think that...
Yeah, I have a big problem with that.
Because no matter what, if the most horrible things could have happened, and I still, if I want justice, I got to still get up on that stand, say, this guy did that thing and I saw it, and I still got to convince these 12 strangers that happened.
Yeah.
So I can't be anonymous in that.
Yeah, to me, I have a big problem with that because if you are publicly putting a person on blast for something they did, I don't understand why you
can't
can
say
hide in the shadows.
Right.
Because if ultimately that case gets thrown out, if you lose that case and it's been proven that you lied about that person, you have no repercussions. Right. You just go back to your shadows and as if nothing has happened.
Right.
And you probably have a lawyer that takes it on contingency. So there's not even a cost.
He most definitely took it on contingency, right? So
yeah, exactly. So you basically have a zero cost financially, and you have a zero reputation loss.
Sure.
Because no one knows who you are. So for example, there is, once the Puffy lawsuit became public, there was an army of lawsuits that dropped.
Yeah, everybody.
Let's see. Harv Pierre, the former president of Bad Boy. Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses. Marcellus Wiley, who's actually a guest on my show.
It ain't gonna do much good for Axl Rose. Like, how you gonna get money for?
What do you mean?
I don't know how. Like,
Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses. That's a major.
Yeah, but I don't know what what can happen to like. The problem is
money can get taken. That's what can happen.
Here's my problem with this whole thing. All these different people. The statute of limitations is gonna run out.
Exactly. That's why everyone filed.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying they did or didn't happen. My stance is the same thing that is laid out in the Constitution. You are innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
And Twitter and TikTok and Instagram are not a court.
Right. Because let's see, Jamie Foxx, Cuba Gooding Jr., Jimmy Iovine, who's being sued by the same lawyer that Cassie sued Diddy with, Bill Cosby again, photographer Terry Richardson, NYC Mayor Eric Adams.
Yes.
Diddy caught a couple of new ones.
I can hold these ideas in my head. I think that if you've had these things happen to you and you were afraid, there should be some mechanism for you to deal with it. But with accountability comes somebody the mechanism for accountability is this. He did this to me this day, this time.
Mhm.
I'm looking you in the face and telling you did that. And a trier of facts decides that. All you have to do is have a couple of more clicks on Instagram or TikTok, and you are right. And it depends how they feel about you. Like, to me, Jamie came out of a coma just to have people call him an anti-Semite and a sexual assaulter. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and I remember that statement he made when he said, "Oh, they gotta, oh, they, don't worry about people turning against you. They turn against this guy named Jesus."
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, that's anti-Semitic."
Right.
But I'm like, no, it's not.
No.
Cut it out.
When I grew
Cut
up,
it out.
my mother used to say, they talked about, now, I grew up in an all-black neighborhood right here, 20 miles from here, 135th and Avalon. I didn't know what a Jewish person was. I knew that everybody she was referring to was black.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just this idea of, if they did that to somebody who came to save the world, imagine what they would do to you. I do think that it does cause some pause or raise some question to me when you wait to the last day that something could be filed, and everybody rushes to the court to hold their place to see what happens. That's rough to me.
Yeah, right. Because Diddy caught a new lawsuit, I believe, today, from a girl who was 17 at the time. Now, she has photos, but the photos prove that she was there. Doesn't prove that anything happened. Just proves she was there.
I tell you what Diddy could never say again? One, because it ain't just one now, boy. It's like
well, right. I mean, he actually put out a statement today. He said, "Enough is enough.
I saw.
For the last couple of weeks, I've sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of those awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth."
Well, here's what he didn't do. He didn't sit silently by. He made a dumbass video where he looked like he was unbothered by paying these tens of millions of dollars. That's what he did. So it wasn't silent.
We don't know how much he paid, but we could guess.
I don't eat whether he was regardless of the amount, the effect that the idea of the video was to prove that this is no big deal. I'm still standing, right? That was what he. I just think that there is a level of hubris, and rightfully, I mean, if you're innocent or whatever, probably the lawyers say be quiet for a reason.
Yeah.
I've never seen nobody go to jail for shutting the fuck up. I've never seen anything bad happen from somebody shutting the fuck up. I've never seen that. Silence don't get you in jail. Like, to me, Jussie Smollett, he's not in trouble. He's in trouble because he wouldn't shut the fuck up. Now, I know closing your mouth make you a horrible gay dude, but a wonderful defendant. Like, if you got a closed mouth gay dude, you might not get second dates, but you won't get a court date either.
Right.
Shut the fuck up.
You won't get a second date, but you won't get a court date.
Shut the fuck up.
Right, because they're saying that Jussie, I guess all his appeals have run out and he's going to jail, which is where he should have gone in the first place.
Right. Let me tell you something. I've never seen anybody. There is a reason that lawyers, the first thing they tell you is to not say shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the video of the judge basically like talking down to Jussie?
Yeah.
They basically said, like, you will become a meme essentially for lying and so forth. Like,
hey, look, he's everything. The phrase "step and fetch it" was by an actor who played those roles so much. They named the role he played "Step and Fetch It." Everything something happens to somebody that is unbelievable has become Jussie Smollett. Like when the girl got kidnapped and
oh yeah, right.
And I'm like, look here, man. Like, it was that story was whack to me from the beginning when she said I saw a baby walking, like a baby walked. But the police got there within 5 minutes. They conducted a multi-jurisdictional search, including a Secret Service. There has not been that many white men looking for a black woman in the South since Harriet Tubman. There's never. The only thing they didn't have was fucking torches.
I was not ready for that analogy. Oh my God.
There has not literally. I'm serious.
The way you flipped it too is just, oh man, that is such a scathing.
It is.
scathing comparison.
The last time that many white men was looking for a black woman on purpose in the South was Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman. Okay. Is she supposed to be on which bill is she supposed to be on?
But I tell you what, infamy is better than fame these days.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Jussie situation almost reminds me of Tory Lanez, who is in jail right now doing 10 years. And by the way, I found out that he had, at first I was told it was a 4-year plea deal, but then I talked to someone else who was there early with him who said they actually gave him a 3-year plea deal that he turned down, only to be doing 10 years and still denying that he ever did anything.
Well, you know, the interesting thing, so I'm at Joey's in the Valley.
Yeah, great spot.
I see a guy, it's Tory Lanez's dad.
Oh, did he have the tattoo hairline and everything?
The most warm human being. Like, part of me was like...
Oh, you talked to him?
For an hour.
Okay. Well, what did he say?
That he believed his son. Of course he did.
Did he believe that Jay-Z was behind all this?
He wasn't that fired up about that part.
Okay.
But he still believed his son, ultimately, which any father would, especially when you're talking to a guy who got a radio show. Of course you're going to say, like, why would you?
Yeah.
But I got the sense that he believed in his son's innocence. And it made me, you know, at least respect the fact that if you have a guy like that, and the guy's he's very religious, very spiritual, and the way that he talked about his son is the way I talk about my son. So so I had to give deference to that. In the end, I said, I believe he did it, and not because I want to. I believe he did it because of all the circumstances that were surrounding the whole thing.
Right.
But it does give me, for a minute, it gave me pause to have somebody. One of the reasons that they have people that come give these personal testimonies when they got about to sentence you is because it gives a shade or a nuance or a different patina to somebody that you look at in a jaundiced way. So it did change. It certainly colored the way I see him a different way. I still think he's guilty, unfortunately, but the fact that this dude was erudite and smart and spiritual and warm and empathic, I just don't see it the way you do. And I don't blame a father for seeing this other way.
The dad, especially if you're talking about someone having a child that sort of transforms your whole family.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I don't exactly know their background, but I would assume that Tory's probably more successful than anyone in their family up to this point.
Yeah,
just because of his great degree of success. Sure. Right?
Sure.
It's not like he has a brother that was also huge. It was like, he was, he was very accomplished. He's a great artist. But I said 2 years ago that he's going to jail based on everything that I know. He even DM'd me, was trying to figure out what I know. And I'm like, I know what's clearly out there, Tory.
Right.
He's like, are you a cop? And he's like insulting me. And I'm like, I don't care if you insult me.
I read the fucking news.
I read the news.
I read the reports.
You have, your victim is taking the stand against you. Which, like my man Tony Yayo has always said, he's never seen that before. He's never seen a human being who shot somebody and they survived take it to court when the victim is going to testify against them. It's just never he's never seen it. He thought it was crazy.
It happened, but it was in movies. I saw it in Godfather.
Right. Oh, and then when he
I saw that part.
They had his brother come in.
I
he
saw
kind of
that
like,
part. I didn't see that. Yeah,
but he changed his testimony on the stand.
And then killed himself in the bathtub.
Right, exactly. But whatever. Megan got on the stand wearing purple, which is the domestic violence color, and cried on the stand to the jury and said exactly what happened. And my whole thing is, okay, well, let's just say he didn't do it. Let's just say that someone else shot her. You never told your story. All you said this whole time is, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, I'm innocent, but not saying what happened. Because there were shots that were fired. There was gun residue. There's witnesses hearing the shots. There's audio of the shots. Shots were fired. Someone got hit. There's bullet fragments in the foot. If it was me, and I did not shoot her, I wouldn't care what my lawyer told me. I'm getting on the stand, and you could cross-examine me 100 times. Because I'm going to get and I know people like Hurricane Chris, who was charged with a murder, who took the stand. Travis Rudolph, charged with a murder, took the stand. Didn't matter. And they told me flat out, it didn't matter what their lawyer told them. I'm not going to leave my future in the hands of this guy who doesn't have the repercussions that I have.
Right.
If I truly believe that it was self-defense and I wasn't the one responsible for it, I'm going to take the stand and prove to the jury and let myself get cross-examined, and my story's not going to switch up. because I know what happened, and you could ask me 100 times. Tory, to this day, continues to say that he's an innocent black man and everything else like that, but he has never once said what actually happened.
Well, here's what I will say that's sadder to me about that, is that Megan got shot.
Yes.
And everybody was like, oh, well, they were fucking or whatever. Most women in this country who get shot were fucking or had been fucking the dude that shot them.
Yes.
So it's not, that doesn't absolve you of that notion. And the fact is, how we've devolved as a society, we believe somebody that is bleeding. We won't believe somebody that's bleeding against somebody that hasn't even really made a statement. Like, she was obviously shot.
Yes.
Obviously somebody shot her.
Right. And then Tory made a song disputing that. He said, how do you get shot? No bones and tendons got hit. He actually made a song.
You know, it's called Lucky. It's called Lucky.
He got lucky. Yeah, exactly.
I just, and that's where we are. Something happened to me. I don't even know what, maybe about. But I started I was reading this book and it talked about how when you get older, the part of your brain that is more inclined to be empathic and sympathetic expands, and the other part, I guess you grow less, you have less testosterone and more, whatever it is.
Okay.
But I started to hate the guy I used to be. Like the way I saw things, 20 years ago, I'd have been one of those people that said,
yeah.
Oh. But now, I'm like, if you live long enough, you'll see how stupid you used to think was.
I feel you. Well, speaking of assault cases, Jonathan Majors is in court right now.
Mm-hmm.
The white girl who is accusing him of assault apparently played a voicemail which said that he demanded total compliance because he was a king and he needed her to act more like Michelle Obama and Coretta Scott King. It's an interesting choice of role models,
right?
Considering this is a white girl, blonde white girl. Right. Maybe Barbara Streisand,
right.
No, but
the thing that was funny when I heard that video, neither one of them got their ass whipped into compliance. Like, I don't know how that proves that he's a brutal man. He could be weird. He could be a psychopath, but I don't know that proves that he's domestically violent because he wants you to comport yourself a certain way. I don't know that proves that at all.
No, not at all. But it made for fodder for the media because
it
was just kind of funny.
It is,
asking a white girl to act like a prominent older black woman is just a little. Yeah. It's just comedy. I'm sure there's stand-ups all across the country right now that are.
That ain't the one you should have picked.
Well,
the white girl from Hustle and Flow, pick her.
Yeah, pick her. Yeah, there we go. I like that white girl. She's in compliance.
She was in
compliance, wasn't she?
Yeah. She was down.
Right.
She was the bottom bitch. She was
right. Act like Blueface's first baby mother. There we go. Jaden, I think is her name. There you go. Act like her. She's in compliance.
Yeah, it was the high. You
aimed a little high.
Yeah.
You overshot your mark.
Lower your sight. You know what? Act like one of the brides that Herschel Walker pulled guns on. Them brides.
There you go. They were compliance. There you go. Well, Majors, he pleaded not guilty, and he faces a charge of misdemeanor assault, aggravated harassment, and harassment. The strangulation charge was dropped, but if convicted, he faces up to a year in prison.
Here's the thing. A year, if he's not him, if they don't want to make a point, it's already over. I'll plead out, it's over. I think now, obviously...
Well, no, he hasn't been locked up, so it wouldn't
But I'm saying, even at that, we'd have never heard about that had they weren't trying to prove that they were indifferent to, that they weren't being indifferent to somebody's station or status. A year? We're going to go through a trial.
I mean, a misdemeanor assault is basically nothing.
It absolutely.
That means you got into a fight with someone. There's no lasting injuries.
Exactly.
Aggravated harassment is a weird one. I don't even know what that is.
Right. It's what
permanent harassment. You've harassed someone so bad that they can't recover from the harassment. I don't get it. The
funniest thing is the charges they make up when they want niggas to get in trouble. Like, it really is. It's nothing There's nothing about this whole thing that is worthy of a trial. Nothing.
So aggravated harassment in the second degree is a New York crime that punishes individuals who engage in certain actions that are intended to annoy, threaten, or cause another person to fear for their safety.
Annoying.
It's a Class A misdemeanor. So this is a misdemeanor also. So it's a bunch of misdemeanors.
It's not even serious. It's
not even a felony. It's
a Class A misdemeanor.
Class A misdemeanor. I mean, honestly, if his name was like Jonathan Johnson,
it's not happening.
Nothing would have happened. But if this is Jonathan Majors, then
how's a major getting charged with a minor bullshit? That's the fuck I don't get.
Well, I mean, the fear, I think, for him is Marvel. Right. Because if they drop him as Kang the Conqueror, that's going to have serious repercussions for a very long time.
He has to go to court to erase the stench of
he can't plead.
He can't, right.
He can't plead, unfortunately. Anyone else in that position would just plead and probation, 50 hours of community service, blah, blah, blah. Man, talk to some troubled kids, you're done.
So Marvel's funny to me because I watched Iron Man fall into bed with a baby when he was high and still become Iron Man. You know what I mean?
He fell in the bed. What?
He
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Well, he was a drug addict.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember he lost his job at Ally Beale. Remember? Like he was a cast member at Ally Beale, and I guess he just would stop showing up. He was so strung out. And now he's like America's darling.
Right. So Marvel can have dubious taste.
Yes.
Iron Man fell asleep in the bed of a baby he didn't even know. Come on now.
I gotta look at this story. So what, was it his baby?
It wasn't even his baby. It was he
walked into someone's house?
Somebody's house, a stranger's house.
Just fell asleep in the bed.
That's Robert Downey Jr.
It's motherfucking Robert Downey Jr.
And now he Iron Man. Now he Tony Stark.
But Kang the Conqueror is such a central character right now.
Yeah.
Not only was Ant-Man, the last Ant-Man movie was totally based around it, but if you watch the new Loki series, it's really all about Jonathan Majors.
But they dropped the major shit. Like, he didn't choke her. He just annoyed her. We're like, come on, man. What the...
I don't know. I mean, I hope he gets off. Because from what I understand, she was beating on him also. But
he came to conquer, baby. You can't. You can't. Like, what's your safe word? Warrant, bitch.
I mean, it's actually kind of sad because... I mean, would you say that at this moment, I mean, before this happened, obviously, he was the hottest actor in Hollywood?
I think he was potentially. The course was set for him to be the hottest actor in Hollywood. He definitely had the path clear for that to happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, he did Creed 3. He was Kang the Conqueror. And he also had, like, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. So critically acclaimed, kind of,
Listen. It was a boring movie, but I watched it because of him. And I thought and I watched it on the plane. And I thought, this is a dope actor.
Yeah. That was the first time I saw it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, man, listen, I hope he gets through it. Him and Megan Good are apparently a couple these days. They're saying this whole thing was about Megan Good. That he was talking to her while he was messing with the white girl. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, Major and Good belong together, baby boy.
Well, since our last interview, Keefe D was arrested for the murder of Tupac.
Sure.
And my interview that I did with him 4 years ago is sort of at the heart of this whole situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of niggas going to jail for talking to you, baby.
Listen to me. If you write a book about a murder you were involved in,
you can't be shocked when people read it.
Or if people interview you, you agree to an interview about that book. No one put a gun to his head and made him talk about that.
The thing that I never have gotten past, nobody goes to jail for not saying shit. Nobody goes to jail for being quiet. They go to jail for not shutting the fuck up. Now, I don't know how many copies that book sold.
Quite a few, I heard.
Then it had to be a calculation he was worth risking. But to me,
I mean, he wasn't, at one point, he couldn't afford a lawyer. He had a court-appointed lawyer. I mean, I think now he finally gathered some money or whatever, but that's insane to me. Like, to get to the point of 60 years old, you're in jail, you're denied bond. There's rumors that he got beat up in prison, in jail, I guess. because there's going to be a lot of Tupac fans out there. It's going to be worse than state prison.
A lot of young Tupac fans too, but
yeah. Yeah, Tupac is not one of these strictly 40 and over kind of artists. No. There's teenagers right now that are
shirts and shit.
Yeah, they got Thug Life across their stomach and everything. So, it's a crazy situation. His trial's not until June. So he's going to sit there as an old man month after month after month. And listen, I don't know what's going to happen. Please try to contact me, Las Vegas PD. I wasn't cooperating. Right. They wanted my raw footage. I'm like, I'm not cooperating this shit. But
here's the thing that
his own words. I mean, all the shit publicly he said is gonna
everything he said years ago. What was the evidence for doing it now? Like everything he said was on the record years ago.
What I think was that after Greg Kading released the audio tapes of him, confessing,
right,
and saying that his nephew Orlando was the shooter, I think the repercussions from his own neighborhood and his own family and his own circle of people was so harsh that he felt the need to publicly defend himself. That's what I think.
And so that meant what? Talking, right?
Yes.
And what sends you to jail?
Talking. No, he could have absolutely, he had a proffer agreement. All the stuff he said on tape that Greg Kading got, none of which is going to be admissible in court because it's a proffer agreement. But once you retell the story, it's no longer part of that agreement.
So what do we learn? Bill Cosby's in jail for talking. He went to jail for talking. Even though he was offered immunity or that these crimes would be held against you,
mm-hmm.
I've never seen anybody go to jail or get their ass whooped from shutting the fuck up. I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember I read the book by Sonny Barger. He was the founder of the Hells Angels. And he went into a whole story about how literally, I think like dozens and dozens of Hells Angels were charged with all types of heinous crimes. They all sat there and didn't say nothing. And all the charges were dropped.
And that was a fucked up book. Was a book of blank pages with nothing.
Yeah. I mean, and this, you see this in the biker gangs. The biker gangs actually historically have not cooperated. There was some big brawl that happened. I remember I forgot who the gangs were exactly, but once again, bunch of dead bodies. Everyone sat there and didn't say nothing. Ultimately, after the investigation, they couldn't charge anybody. They didn't know who did what.
Is it Nevada or Texas?
Yeah.
One of those, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like when you look at these really structured gangs or whatever you want to call them, the ones that really get away with it hold ranks. But the other gangs that when one person pops up and just says, I'll tell you everything,
right,
that's when people really get
what do you say up. You as the strongest or weakest link?
Weakest link.
Yep.
And now, the trial's supposed to be in June for Keefe. Suge Knight is now doing a podcast from prison.
That
was a strange one I didn't see coming.
So how is he able to do it? Because you're not supposed to be
over the phone.
But you're not supposed to have a phone.
Well, no, jail phone.
It's what he can legally have?
Well, no. I mean, you get to use the phone as a prisoner.
Oh, so it's not a cell phone?
No. It's actually, he's going to a payphone, not a payphone, but I just interviewed R. Kelly. Earlier in the year, we just released it, but it was over a jail phone. We had 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And he said what he had to say in those 15 minutes, and that was that. But, the whole Suge Knight thing, and of course,
literally everybody got a goddamn podcast. Everybody. Wow.
Yeah. You've interviewed Suge Knight before, right?
Mm-hmm. I was doing it for the later show, man. And
this was what year? 16 years ago. I'm looking at the YouTube video right now.
It was for late night. It was on CBS.
2007. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he agreed to do the show. And it was Craig Kinnear that used to do the show, or Craig Kilborn, or one of those guys. And they quit, so they were having these series of hosts come on. And they got Suge Knight, and all the white people were scared to death of Suge. Like he ate people. I'm like, what?
I just swallow you whole.
Like, I never seen so many executives. I'll just meet you after the show. And he just came on and talked some shit and laughed, and it was done.
What'd you guys talk about in the interview?
I don't even remember then. But he had such a mythic reputation that, because when wealthy people or people who are well-to-do, like these people who started this show started Johnny Carson, these people. And so they heard about Suge, and all of them conveniently were gone that day.
You were the last man.
Security, like I'm like, and he was Suge. He was affable, funny, cool.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've been in the same room with Suge twice. Both times I purposely didn't talk to him. And I know that he knows who I am.
Right.
Because my name has been mentioned. Right. He's talked about me to other people that I know.
Right.
But my thing is like, yeah, I mean, a Suge Knight interview with me would go ballistic.
Right.
But everyone that he's done any level of business with has always regretted it. I've never met a single person that said, hey, I did business with Suge Knight. It worked out great. Right. He's a really great business person. He treats people, in a business-like manner. We have a great working relationship. It's always like, yeah, started out good, and then he tried to go behind my back. I remember interviewing Matt Barnes. He bought his life rights only to find out that he sold to like 4 or 5 other people. He finally just had to take his losses. I mean, I interviewed Whack 100 here the other day. Once again, he's trying to do this big deal with Suge, and Suge's trying to go around him and, try to do the deal with the people he's trying to do it with. And it's just like, this guy's in jail trying to snake you in a business deal. It's so weird.
Well, I must be the rare guy because the interview went well, rated well, and he was off.
Okay, did you see him after that?
No.
That was it.
I did. I saw him on TV after that. I saw him at the indictment after that, but after that was it.
I mean, he actually, in his latest podcast, he actually posted a picture of him playing with Puffy's baby son. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. That's a picture of him playing with, is it Justin? Like his firstborn?
Yeah.
And, I mean, Suge is still causing chaos behind bars.
I don't know how that happened.
With decades left in a sentence. Like,
man, I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know either. Well, speaking of Tupac, Jada Pinkett went on an epic media run.
I saw.
We all saw.
I'm like, she told everything. What Jada proved is you don't need a red table to talk. Like, wow, you just... When she said Tupac had alopecia, I'm like, that wasn't even out then. They didn't even have that.
Well, here's the thing. If he had alopecia, why did he have eyebrows? Okay? Why did he have eyebrows? Because alopecia affects your whole head, right?
What I never understood is that somebody is selling a book and tells the most salacious details of the story. It's, why movies dropped off for a long time? Because everybody would get to the movie early to see the trailers, right? Mm-hmm. The trailers told the whole story, and then people went, I don't need to see the movie no more. It's almost like all that free, Jada doing these interviews like that, free bread you get at restaurants or the chips and salsa. You're so full by the time it's time, but you don't want anything else.
Yeah, I mean, what else did she say? She said that Tupac proposed to her in prison.
But it's here's what I never understood. What I don't understand is this. I think that if you're doing a book called Worthy, it needs to be filled with your experiences. If your experiences involve some other person at the center of those experiences, then you're not worthy. Like, why does every story begin with a prominent male star or a prominent dude in her life? Why isn't your life and your perspective and your vantage point and your experiences weighted enough? Why does everything have to start with Will or Tupac?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying that they can't be in the book at all, but they can't be the stars of the story every time.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's had a career on her own, but it's gotten eclipsed by the men that she was associated with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She was in The Matrix. She was in Menace to Society, one of my favorite movies. But everything is Tupac Will Smith, Tupac Will Smith.
Because
Tupac
you
Will
think
Smith.
that like I think she's a talented, beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that she's so synonymous with the men that she's been she's been associated with. It's really hard to see. It's really hard to see.
Well, yeah, I mean, your friend Chris Rock, she claimed, asked her out.
Come on now, everybody.
Because I guess according to her story, he thought that her and Will were divorced, and that in turn kind of feeds into this whole story.
Well, here's the thing. So allegedly, according to her, Will got upset that Chris asked her out, right?
Yeah, which is understandable.
Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't hit the dude that actually fucked your old lady.
August Alsina.
Yeah, you didn't do that. Like you mad at the dude that got rejected. You whooped the dude ass who lost.
Who got rejected.
But not the dude ass who won. That doesn't make fucking sense. You whooped the dude ass who she said no to, but that's why I don't know that I believe this. I don't know.
Did you ever ask Chris about this or no?
No, but I think that a lot of things have happened that we don't know. But suffice it to say this. I think that it is problematic for a lot of people when everything you say gets more and more salacious about the dude you have children with and that you're supposed to be in a relationship. We didn't find out you weren't married. Like, it's all these things.
Yeah, she brought up that they weren't actually married for a few years.
All these things that you think endear you to society, and I don't know that they do.
No, I think it made it look worse, actually. I mean, someone said, I'm tired of Jada Pinkett, Shakur, Alsina Smith.
You are a talented, beautiful woman who's had life's experiences that are worthy of having you talk about. And even if these interactions with these luminaries are substantive, they can't be the meal.
Yeah.
They can be the appetizer.
The side dish.
But they can't be the meal.
I feel you. Because then a guy claiming to be Will Smith's assistant claimed that he saw Will Smith and Dwayne Martin having sex.
Yeah.
And she said that that's false.
Here's what I don't get about that.
Threatened to sue. By the way, that same guy reached out to us for an interview, and I'm like, oh hell no, I am not talking to this.
What's his name? What's his name? Bilal.
Yeah. Do you know who that is?
I do know who it is.
Was he actually around Will Smith?
Yes. There's no debating that.
Okay. For years.
Yes.
So what happened? Did they have a falling out?
I don't know what happened, but I know this: that if you know something that nobody else knows, because you were close enough to know it, is because. And people trusted you. I don't know what happened with Will or Dwayne. I know Will was instrumental in my career and helped me out initially. I know Dwayne is a guy I hold in high esteem. But even if they were doing what the fuck you allege they were doing, what does that have to do? Like, it wasn't illegal. It didn't hurt anybody. So what is it you hope to gain for that? There had to be something you hope would happen.
Maybe it was extortion. Maybe he was trying, hey, listen, give me some money and I won't make up the story. So now or maybe the story's real. I don't know. I mean, I've heard weird stuff about them, but I would never publicly say it because the person who told me about it
even if all of that is real.
I don't know.
Even if all of that is real. And these two consenting adults did this thing, right? What the fuck is your angle? Like, that's what I always look at, what the person that is talking shit has to gain.
Well, clout, right?
And
clout is currency these days.
It ain't, actually.
It is.
Because,
to some people's minds.
Okay, no,
in reality, it's not, but.
You're as big as it gets when it comes to interviews that break people, right?
Yeah, up there. I'm up there.
You didn't want to do it, right?
No.
So then he has to go to a lower rung of people, right?
Yeah, they did Tasha K.
Okay. Who owes all the money from that interview to stuff?
Right. Like, she's worth negative 10 million.
So what the fuck? This is my thing. What the fuck do you hope to gain from that?
Yeah.
Like, it is, and then you didn't gain anything. They didn't do anything illegal. These allegations have been swirling around them for decades.
Yeah.
What was the net result of it?
I mean, I don't know. For him, it was maybe getting more interviews and thinking that something might happen. I don't know, man.
But if he didn't get a view with the top tier people, what the fuck? Who was
I don't know, because I think the top tier people aren't going to touch it.
Then what is the point?
So it is what it is. You got to go with someone who has a history of lying on people.
Right.
And, you know, Tasha's lied about me.
You got a dude fucking another dude's story. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
You got Caligula. Let's see how that fucking goes.
Right.
Like, I don't get it.
Derek Chauvin was recently stabbed 22 times.
Sure.
And we actually broke the story that this was a Mexican mafia member.
Yeah.
Who I guess was also an informant at the same time, but he has a history of deadly attacks. He did it on Black Friday. And I just want to take a moment to shout out the Mexicans out there. Not only did they stab up Derek Chauvin, but they also beat up Shitty Cuz. You know what I'm saying? Whatever Black Mexican wars that have been happening should be on a ceasefire right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the Mexicans have really gone far and beyond to help the Black community.
And you know what's funny? Derek Chauvin was very clear about he didn't want black guards around. Remember, he didn't want black guards around.
I didn't know that,
yeah, he didn't want any black guards around him.
Could have all the Mexicans around.
Right. Well, you know. Let me tell you something. Hardened criminals, you're pretty safe in the library, motherfucker. That ain't gonna.
Man, I want to interview this guy.
The dude that stabbed him?
The Mexican mafia guy. Yeah, I would love to. I want to actually get this guy's story.
I bet it ain't that hard to do. This is what.
Well, he's being charged with attempted murder and stuff like that.
Course.
He poked him 22 times.
When you stab a motherfucker 22 times on Black Friday.
Yeah, on Black Friday. You turn him into a coriander, pretty much. Like
some people getting TVs and some people are shanking the shit out of murderous cops. Some people getting the new PlayStation.
Yeah. I wonder, it's funny, right? One of my regular guests, Rico Reckless, he talked about this thing in prison called the Glock Dookie, which is like a gun that they make out of like with feces and piss and stuff like that. Right? It's popular in Chicago, the Glock Dookie. I think Joe Rogan actually played the clip from when he talked about the Glock Dookie. So if anyone just happens to hit Derek Chauvin with a Glock Dookie, not that I'm saying it should happen. I'm not promoting.
Let me ask something.
Not promoting prison violence, but if someone manages to do that at some point, I would like to speak to them about doing that.
Well, if they're hearing you, they're breaking all kinds of rules anyway, motherfucker. But you can't murder somebody in such an infamous way. Like what he did was heinous.
Yes.
And what he did was monstrous.
Yes.
And obviously it had a way. There was a reason that he asked, and you can Google this. He wanted to stay away from black guards because he thought that there might be some level of retribution. You murdered a man in a heinous way. Mm-hmm. The old adage, live by the sword, die by the sword. You just there are a lot of times, even years ago in Chicago, the cop that killed Laquan McDonald's got stabbed. So it's probably bad for cops to kill niggas and then go to jail. That's probably not a good thing. So you can decide to stop killing people unjustly. That could be an option. Because these things should be a cautionary tale.
King Harris, who stands on business.
I don't know how you stand on business you did with your daddy.
Right. In a, wasn't they like in a private booth at a football game or something?
How you stand on business, you ain't even stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Like you famous because we know your daddy.
Right.
Like if King Harris, if he had roaches, he was on a reality show for years. So those roaches were actors. Stop it.
They're paid roaches.
They're union.
Union roaches.
I just don't understand. The thing that insulted me that much is that I know Tiny and I know T.I. and they work very hard for their families.
Yeah.
And the fact that the one thing that is a punt to the gut of mothers and fathers who work hard for their family members is when a child doesn't appreciate or denigrates what they did. Like when I grew up, we didn't have a lot, but we wasn't dirty and we wasn't hungry. But if you said we were dirty and hungry, that insulted my mother and my father.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact that you come from a 2-parent home where your dad is a rap star and your mom is an R&B star. Like, we all wish we had this growing up, right? I mean,
unless it was Bobby and Whitney, like that was that.
Yeah, okay, you're right. You're right. That's a. But T.I. and Tiny are not drug addicts.
No,
and they're not, like falling out. Like, Tiny has all her teeth still and everything else like that. Unlike Whitney at the time that she passed away, unfortunately, it just is what it is. Half her teeth were missing from the drugs. We just got to call it for what it is. But you have this set of parents that push family, that actually puts you in a position.
What was the name of the reality show? Family, what was it?
T.I. and Tiny show?
No, it's called, what was it called?
The Family Hustle.
That's what I'm saying.
The family hustle.
That's what I'm saying.
The family's hustling. You got a cool dad and a cool mom. I've never interviewed, I've interviewed T.I. a little bit, but I've really had to sit down with Tiny, and she is such a nice lady.
She is.
She is so sweet. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I see why T.I. stayed with you all these years, because you're just such a cool person, right? And you're sitting there in a box booth that you cannot afford on your own with your family, and you start talking about how you want to be from the hood. I can go to any hood. I stand on business. No, you can't.
You can't at all.
No, you'll get kidnapped.
No, nobody at a certain level. No,
T.I. can't go to every hood.
No, a prophet has no honor among his own. What makes me very sad is that some kind of way that the circumstances we came out of are so romantic and so romanticized that they believe it's Narnia or the place to be.
Yeah. And
because they'll never have, I think that we have done our children a disservice because artistically a rose can grow through concrete. It doesn't. It shouldn't. You can wear tight shoes so you feel good when you take them off. But even I forget the football player who started talking about his football player.
Oh yeah,
Michael Irvin.
Michael Irvin, yeah.
I came out of the mud. If you came out of the mud, you went to a mud room, washed that shit off, and got some new clothes.
Yeah, he said his son has grown up in gated communities. He's not a gangster rapper.
The only gates people know that grew up in those circumstances closed behind you with a guard. And I ain't talking about the one to keep people out. It's the one to keep you in. So these people that have these notions and these romantic notions about these things they'll never know and their parents worked hard for them never know. It's more insulting to me than anything. I get that it's everybody wants to know where their parents come from. Everybody want to know where they come from.
Yeah.
But to romanticize about it as if it is some great, everywhere black people live in this country generally, until recently, and it's a recent phenomenon, they had to live because people told them where to live. T.I. didn't grow up where he wanted to grow up. I didn't grow up where I wanted to grow up. I grew up where they told me and made me live. I couldn't get houses anywhere else. They wouldn't approve loans anywhere else. Everything was away from me. So I lived where we had to live because you were separated. People made sure that black people lived this place and you can only go here and do these things. So when I hear people romanticize about it, you are really championing the cause of people telling you where the fuck you can live, which is no different than prison.
Listen, as an adult, so I was born in the Ukraine. We moved to the U.S. We lived in the projects in Springfield, Massachusetts for a little while, and then we moved. And then I grew up in a middle-class area in San Mateo, California, right? As an adult, I lived in the hood one time at one portion of my life. When I moved to New York in 2002, I lived in Brooklyn on Church and East 18.
God damn.
But
now it's beautiful now.
No, it's not.
It's not that bad. It ain't bad as it used to be.
It was a crack block.
Yeah, it's
like,
not bad like
literally, that. There was literally, it was me. I was the only white person except for these two crackheads. Because it was a Caribbean neighborhood, right? So I stood out, right? Not that I felt uncomfortable. I just stood out. Because no one knew who DJ Vlad was. I just started my DJ career. Me and these two crackheads were the only three white people on this block. And then I remember like coming home from a DJ gig, someone threw a bottle at my head coming off the train. And I'm like, oh shit. Then I had to come, and I saw who it was. And that was a guy that was hanging out on the block. So the next day I'd have to come out and see this guy the next day. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what it's like to live in the hood. I moved. I said, no, I'm good. I said, I'm not dealing with this level of conflict to just go outside. That was, I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, I experienced it. No, like I lived there for a while because I was too broke. I was sleeping on a couch. But I'm like, yo, like this level of hostility and animosity to have to deal with this day after day without the ability to just go somewhere else. I ended up moving to like Borough Park, which is a Hasidic Jewish neighborhood. It was a poor neighborhood, but it was relatively peaceful because it was a bunch of Hasidic Jews. You know what I'm saying? It was a slummy area, but it was, there was no violence, luckily. But yo, like living in that, if you actually lived in that, if King got put in a situation where he had to live in those type of environments, he wouldn't be romanticizing it the way he did. Wouldn't. No.
I read this, watched this documentary, it was on TV, and it's the Tiger Widows it was about these people that lived in India. And so when they would go out, the women would go out, the men would have to go out and go get wood because they knew it was tigers in there. The men would go out and get wood and whatever they needed to bring back. But they always knew. So the tigers knew these motherfuckers come to get wood. And they would start to kill all the men. So the women, all the men
That's
were...
That's not funny. I'm not laughing at people getting killed. It's just sort of a weird situation.
All the women
the tigers are sitting there plotting.
They started hunting. So the women had no men, so they had to move. And the tigers followed them. They're like, we're not letting... This is the true shit. We're not letting... That is what it's like. Do you know how black people that succeed are the exception and not the rule? And what they say to black people who succeed is to everybody else, look at them, you could do it too. Black people that succeed are the exception, not the rule. The rule generally is most people don't succeed because there's too many things that are leveled against you. What they do is take the ones that do succeed and make the people that didn't feel bad because you should have been able to do this exceptional thing that happened. All everybody wants is to be regular and have a decent life. If you see black people being, they generally have done something exceptional. They've exceeded expectations. They have cut themselves. They have found a way to beat the odds. But they're held up at the example of the things you should be able to do when you're not. If everybody that lived in any circumstances had the ability to have a decent life, just being a regular dude, a regular, not exceptional, not unexceptional, just a regular person, I think we'd have less strife, but we don't. Because we see unexceptional white guys get to be these extraordinary things, and you're like, wow. But the people who have a level of success from our communities have to be exceptional. They have to break the trend. They have to become something exceptional. These other people are the standard, the rule. And so they always hold the exceptional people up as the thing you should be able to do. And if everybody could do it, it wouldn't be inherent. It inherently wouldn't be exceptional.
Well, Keke Palmer. I mean, first the whole Usher video thing happened, which set off a chain of events, I feel. And I remember how the internet... So, okay, look. Keke has a baby with this man.
Yes.
Right? Who she says she loves. They have their first child together.
Right, sure.
And, she's a first-time mother. And by her gushing on stage, wearing very provocative clothing, he said, I'm not okay with this. You're a mother. To publicly do this, he had a problem with, which I fully understood.
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Well, people are saying, well, why is he saying this publicly? But I'm like, well, because she did what she did publicly. So him having a public statement about it, to me, seems perfectly normal. Why did you think he was wrong?
I think that anybody, first off, that should have been a conversation they had in private. Like which
I'm sure they had also.
Well, then she doesn't respect you, and that's a whole different thing.
Okay, there you go.
You went to, listen, she pays all the fucking bills.
Yeah.
You got mad she went to Usher concert and you ain't even un-Usher. What the fuck are you talking about? Like,
he's an Usher at the Usher concert?
Here's the thing. He came back and said, I have morals and standards. What you don't have, young man, is a W-2. Like, if you want to stay home and raise your children and not bring any money to the house and still talk a lot of shit, you're going to have to get you a vagina. That's the only thing.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I agree with you on this. So you mean to tell me, okay, that, okay, so you're married.
For a long
time.
Right.
Your wife is a stay-at-home wife.
Even though she had help, but yeah, she's there.
Stay at home.
Yes, she stayed home.
She was not bringing the income.
No.
If you did something outlandish publicly,
right,
I would, and I know you, I've met your wife, I've been to your home, everything else like that. I would assume that you have enough respect for your wife to say, I was wrong, even though you don't make as much money as I do.
That's true.
Because there's a respect
That's
there.
True.
Now, you guys are married, but, you know.
I think that there's something happened, no matter what people tell you. When a woman is paying the bills and making decisions and taking on the financial
So that's what you're talking about.
She does
It's a double standard. Yeah.
She inherently cannot respect you if she is paying all the bills. She can't.
It's sad but true. I would actually have to agree with you because in my entire dating career, there was one time I dated a woman who had way more money than me, and I didn't like it.
And you did something about it, though.
I broke up with her.
Well, but you did something about it. There are men who sit back. This is a true story. She'll tell you this. My wife made more money than me for 1 month. I'm not even bullshitting.
1 month.
I made $475.
Were you in the hospital that month?
No, we were married. When we first got married, I was making $475. She was making $625. It drove me fucking crazy. Okay. I'm like, I'm not getting ready to let you make more money than me. And she has used that for 38 years. You know, I used to make more money. Then I have to go
for a month. God damn it.
For a month.
Look, you and I are traditional men.
No, you and I are fucking men. I don't know. See, traditional means that for eons, it's the way it's always been.
Yes.
So we're just men.
Yeah.
To make a different estimation
this
of that.
It's a new style, man.
Here's the thing. I cannot abide somebody working harder than me and doing more than me if my task. I believe that a man's 2 jobs is to provide and protect his women and his children. That's it. And if you aren't doing that, what the fuck are you?
Listen, I'm right there with you because the last time I have asked a woman to split the bills with me was in college. My girlfriend in college, we split the bills. We were 2 broke college students. Our families were both helping us. We had little jobs here and there, but ultimately we were in school. So I can't really be the man of the house if I'm in school. So we split the rent, we split the bills, everything else like that.
This is what she used to do. I wanted to impress her so bad. Remember they had the ATM machine, they were called versatile machines.
Yeah, versatile, yeah.
I would take empty envelopes, put them in on Friday.
Okay.
Get the money out.
Yeah.
And try to get it back in on Monday. One time, my wife this is how it parallels. My wife had warrants and they took her, she couldn't drive her car. My wife's a couple years older than me. I was on a bus stop while she drove past me in my fucking car. Like past me to go to her job while I was taking a bus to the job that paid for all this shit.
Yeah.
Just a couple of weeks ago, I bought this cat, I bought an Escalade because I said I'm tired of buying, of going to the airport and paying for cars. So I bought an Escalade that's back and forth to go to the. And Derek Robles, who's my security dude, we drive and go. She said, I want to take my father up to see my sister in San Francisco. I get it. She gets to take the Cadillac. I got to take a fucking Uber to the airport.
Yeah.
Because that's what men do.
Right.
And when you're not that, I don't know what you are. I'm not saying that he's a bad guy. I'm just saying, don't tell me traditional, because this is what men, it don't need to be traditional because this is the way it's always been. The different shit, you can call that something else. Just call it men, and whatever they are is what they are.
Right, listen. Ever since college, I have always, every woman I have ever been in a relationship with, I have always paid all the bills.
Exactly.
I have paid the rent, the bills. Now, I've had some very exceptional women in my life that have helped my businesses and helped me to achieve greater goals, and they've worked and everything else like that. But at no point did I ever say, okay, baby, you cover this light bill. And you know what I mean? Because people were getting on Tyler Perry for saying that. It was like, oh, Tyler Perry was like, what did he say? He said, oh, you know, all the women out there, stop being so hard on your man. You know, you can cover the mortgage and he can pay the light bill. And I'm looking at this going like, oh, hell no.
Well, I love Tyler, but you can't wear a dress. Like, he wore a dress for it. Come on. Maybe the one thing.
You could cover the light bill if you wear a dress. That's the evening point right there.
One time I was going through it, man. I was really going through it, right?
Okay.
And it wasn't going well for me.
Mm-hmm.
My wife told my daughters, and she'll tell you this, don't ask your father for nothing, he's really going through it. I said, don't you ever tell my daughters and my children they can't ask me for anything. Don't you make that presumption. That ain't yours to make. If they need something, I'll find a way to get it to them. You don't get to decide what it is that's too much for me, because I'm a fucking man. Now, whatever that means to you or whatever problem you have with that, I cannot understand a man that lets a woman take care of him. Whatever that makes me is what it is. And women cannot inherently respect you.
Yeah.
My daddy said one thing, it's weird because I'm doing this interview a day after my father's birthday, and it's a weird thing. But he said, never let a woman answer the door when bad news is knocking.
Okay, that's an interesting one. Okay.
Because in the end, if they have to make all the decisions and pay all the bills and do all the hard shit, what the fuck are you?
Yeah.
What are you? I'm not saying that's the way everybody has to be, but we're not traditional men. We're men in the classic sense, and I don't know what everybody else is.
I remember a woman told me that I was in a serious relationship with. She said, I wouldn't stay with a man unless he became a millionaire. And I remember at the time, I felt funny about it because I was really struggling, but I actually became a millionaire. And that echoed in my head because this was an important woman in my life. I found a way. Not to say that she was very serious about it or whatever, it was aspirational, right?
Or maybe it was something she saw in you.
Maybe it was something she saw.
But it wasn't
But it was like a certain man could say, oh, she's a money hungry, she's a gold digger. But I'm like, no, like she actually is willing to work with me to gain this. And we actually did it together at one point. And it was like, I feel like if you live off a woman, you're just a pimp.
You're absolutely fucking right.
Yeah, you're just a pimp.
I don't get it. Then you're her son. You're her son.
Yeah.
How the fuck am I paying? And she gonna get mad at me for saying this. I bought my wife a ring, a wedding ring, like an engagement ring, and I bought it at a store. And this motherfucker took it right back to another store and bought another ring from the Chain Reaction.
The Chain Reaction.
It was called the store. It's Chain Reactions in Cerritos.
Okay.
The ring I got her wasn't. And do you know that made me believe that I had to be worthy of it?
Yeah.
You have to be, there's a reason where people talk all this shit. It's a reason you can get a house cheaper somewhere else than here. It's a reason you can do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a reason.
Where we live is expensive. But it's worth it.
To me.
Look,
motherfucker, if a state lets you live there for free, that's like a club going there for free.
Yeah.
It's a reason shit costs. And the shit that is most resonant in your life that costs, the shit that makes you stretch, the shit that makes you do things you never imagined that you could do, are the things that are worth it.
Yeah.
So if you're having these debates, if a man can't provide and protect his woman, in my estimation, I don't know what the fuck he exists for.
Yeah, listen, I've done polls, and most men, I've asked whether men are okay with a woman making way more money than them, and like 80, 90% said yes. And I'm like, all right, just a different class of man. It's not me. It hasn't been me. It's never been me. I saw it in my own family where like my mom had the more stable job. My dad had his own company, and his money would always be going up and down, and there's always be fights. And there was sort of a respect thing that wasn't quite there up to the point of him dying. Like the amount of disrespect that I saw my mom give my dad during his final months on this earth is the reason why we don't have a relationship.
Do you know that you're telling my story right now?
Really?
My father died. Yesterday was his birthday.
Yeah.
My father died. And the way that my mother treated my father, I go to see my mother earlier in January of this year. My mother is at a hospital in a rich white area in a bed by herself. My father died and left her everything. She has her bills paid off. She has money in the bank that they never would have had. And the way she treated him makes me not be able to see her.
Yeah.
Now that isn't.
It makes me go through the same thing right now.
It makes me see her.
Yeah.
I don't want to be angry with you, but I watched this man give you everything and you didn't, or from my estimation.
Yeah.
I will never see you. And then you cried when he died and it was so insulting to me. I can't reconcile it in my mind.
Yeah, I don't even call her mom anymore. I call her Allah.
Well, I have to call her
You know
mom.
what I mean? Because I don't, I mean, listen, I remember this one time my dad was in the hospital and he told me how my mother came in with these stack of bills, medical bills, that stressed him out so bad that he tried to get out of his bed. And once we looked into it, they weren't even bills. The insurance covered everything. But she brought this to him during his final days to mess with him to the point where he tried to get out of bed and he has Parkinson's. You know what I'm saying? So it was...
He knew what...
It was so ugly that, yeah.
When my father was...
Upsets me just talking about it.
He was in little company of Mary. He was sick. Now, my father... my mother, my father's, my sister's not his, I'm not his, my other sister's not his, my brother is his. But I was born to him. When my father was sick in the hospital, it wasn't even Little Company Mary. My sisters were fighting with the doctors about the treatment my father would get.
Yeah.
And my mother said they shouldn't be able to talk to him. They're not his real kids anyway. And he heard her say it. It broke my fucking heart for him.
Yeah.
It is the reason I see people the way I do.
Yeah.
This is the true story. When you're not sure if your mother ever loved you, then anybody else loving you is a debate. It's a jump ball at best.
Yeah.
It's something I wish that I could accept, but I don't necessarily need. I could thrive. And that's horrible to the people around you. When you see a man, like I hold him here and watch what you did to him.
Yeah.
And now I got to pretend like I don't know it. And the thing about it is now my mother is struggling with dementia. And the first signs of dementia are being evil. And I'm like, my brother, like, I think she got dementia. I'm like, nigga, I think it's Saturday. Like, how can I tell if, and it's the things that, but the one thing I will say that I can't take away from anybody, my brothers and sisters have a different estimation of where they were raised, and they had a different experience. And because I see things the way I do, I get this one. So I would rather have a shitty first half and a great second one.
Yeah.
Than a great first half and a shitty second.
Well, I mean, speaking of that, I interviewed Joe Smith and Kesha Chavis.
Yeah.
You know this whole story about how she had the OnlyFans account and, you know, she filmed the argument and then she posted it. So I interviewed him, got his whole take on it. He was really bothered by it because he's a private person. The fact that this argument was basically blasted all over the world and suddenly everyone from Stephen A. Smith to Cameron now has an opinion about this. But I interviewed her. I'm like, let me get her side of it. And what she told me was kind of interesting, goes along the lines of what we were just talking about. She said, look, he made like, whatever, 61 million in the course of his career, but by the time they met, he was broke.
Right.
He literally was in debt between, you know, a bunch of spending, having a whole bunch of side kids, a nasty divorce, and his career ending when he wasn't prepared for it. He was dead broke. So this whole time, she has been kind of halfway supporting the household. What I didn't know was that prior to this OnlyFans account, she was stripping at a strip club in Atlanta. 52 years old. And I'm like, does he know about it? Did he know about it? She goes, he will drop me off in my car. I said, did he not have a car? Oh, let me tell you this story. He got his car like repossessed. So then he like borrowed a car from like one of his relatives and then took the license off that one and put it on some other car. And then got pulled over and then they took the car. So he didn't have a car. So they're driving one car that she owns and he's dropping her off at the strip club.
Over the last year, I said I'm going to start dancing again. So I started dancing at a club in Atlanta. And then I really hate it, you know.
Were you dancing before?
I used to dance before, yeah. I mean, as an adult video star, you do feature work.
Yeah, you do feature work. Okay, got it.
You know, so.
But now you're dancing in Atlanta.
Now I'm dancing in Atlanta like a regular club girl, and it was just really annoying the mess out of me. So I started an OnlyFans page. I figured, and I didn't disclose this. I didn't feel a need to. I'm going to a strip club every day of the week where
he knows that.
And he knows that.
Yeah.
Like he's dropped me off at work, you know, because he needed to use my car. So.
Oh, you guys were sharing a car?
Yeah. Like, and let me explain what he did with his cars though. Like people think I'm an asshole and they think that I'm mean and I'm just out here bashing Joe, that I don't love him. I'm a freaking dirty gold digging, whatever. But let me explain something here, okay? Joe had a Porsche Panamera when I met him. I hit a curb and messed up the axle on it, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't talk to me about getting it fixed. He went and traded in for a Camaro, okay? Now he's got this Camaro. I did the same thing with the Camaro, but I got it fixed because I would have did the same with the Camaro. I would have got it fixed. But so there's some other stuff with the Camaro. It has to still get paid off, whatever have you. We moved to Atlanta. The freaking car couldn't get registered because of the, you don't have the title for it. Mm-hmm. And so my friend was registering the car for us in California for a while until she couldn't do it any longer. Then the car, the tags were bad. So his family gave him a car where he had good tags, took the good tags off that when they gave him and put it on the Camaro. And then the other car sat in the driveway for a whole year and a half, whatever, not being moved. It had green underneath on, we got fines from the HOA for that. Like, so now he has no cars because he got pulled over with the bad tags. Then the other car just died because it was already an old car. Okay. You know what I'm saying, Vlad? Like, yeah. I can't make this shit up.
So ultimately, when it came down to embarrassing him, she doesn't respect him. So she posts a video.
They cannot respect you if they feel like you're their son.
Yeah. And she's older than him also. So, there's that part.
If I'm taking care of you and I'm paying all your bills and I'm giving you if a woman is taking care of you, she's paying all your bills. I have friends. I have a friend and and we go out to dinner and she would slide the credit card under the table when it would come to paying half. And I'm like, and later on they broke up. And she just didn't respect him. She just didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you got to make more money. I'm not saying that at all. But if I had ever been with a woman who made more money than me, we'd live off the shit I make. Yeah. And if you're not willing to live off the shit I make, you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Stedman seems relatively happy in his relationship, but they also don't have kids. He has no money. It doesn't seem like he's like, I mean, that relationship is just
what the
an
fuck
outlier
are you
type
if
of
you're
relationship.
Not a provider.
Yeah.
It is inherently.
Yeah.
What are you? Men traditionally, in whatever demographic, die years before women. Right? Anywhere from 5 to 7 years before. Right? That's what it costs to be a goddamn man.
5 to 7 years of your life.
It does. It does. It does. But oh man. My daughter said something to me that was the most hilarious thing ever. Now, my daughter, both of them said, I want a man who's just like you and nothing like you. Which I understand. because the parts of me that appeals to them, they understand. The parts of me that don't, they know the things I've done wrong, the ways I am, the things I've done to hurt their mother. I can understand that. But ultimately, my children both, my daughters both know, and my son too. Now, it's different for him. But my daughters both know that nothing but literally, the only way I won't come to you or get to you is if I'm not here. And my oldest daughter tells that to her husband. How the fuck I'm gonna be mad if that's what you think of me? I don't like what you did. I don't like what mama caught you doing. But in the end, if shit push gonna shove, I'm gonna call you before I call anybody else. Fuck it, I'll take it.
There you go. Love it. Love it. And I just want to say this about the whole Keke Palmer situation. Don't put cameras in your house.
If you put cameras in your house, you want the results you get.
Yes. Don't put cameras in your house.
But if you...
The fact that when things got ugly and she had to get a restraining order and they're posting pictures of their domestic disputes in their own home, I just thought this
It ain't their home, it's hers.
Yeah.
And she can put the cameras wherever she wants them. Let me tell you something.
No,
man.
that's true. You got it. No,
you know why?
You can't deny that part. You're right.
Because the motherfucker paying the bills said they should be.
My cameras, motherfucker.
Right.
Turn that motherfucker on and see what happens.
How about that?
Kick you out.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, when Britney Spears finally got offered a conservatorship, Kevin Federline had to move to Hawaii.
You fucking right.
Because that money train ended.
Let me tell you.
He hadn't worked the whole time. And I've interviewed Kevin. Nice guy. He's very big right now. But, you know.
Of course he's fat. He had to do shit.
Yeah, he had to do shit. Yeah.
You get fat when you ain't got to do a goddamn
I mean, he started off as a dancer. So he was like slim and lean and, you know, but years of not working, you know.
I can't speak for anybody else. I do not understand how a man could let women take care of him. Whatever you do, I'm not judging you. I'm not telling you fucked up. That's not in my DNA. When people say traditional man, is where I draw the line as that's what men do.
Yeah.
I don't know about this other bullshit.
Well, yeah, and I've always said that like one of the greatest side effects, negative side effects of prison on American society, which no one really wants to talk about, is this. When a man comes out with a felony, he loses the ability to get a good job,
to take care of his family,
and to rent a home or apartment under his name, which then turns him into somebody that has to rely on a woman or to go back to crime, which ultimately becomes a revolving door.
It's recidivism.
Yeah.
But it's designed to be that way.
But this is why I hate the felony system. I feel like, okay, you caught a felony, you do your time, you should come out with a clean record.
Here's the thing I find ironic about that. You can't run, you can't vote in 40, 30, 20 states in America with a felony. Mm-hmm. But you can run for president being charged with 91 felonies. That's what tells you how different we are.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Is being sued by a gay man for sexual assault.
Right.
Now, according to the lawsuit, the two men, I guess they met and they started exchanging text messages.
Yeah.
Howard texted him that he's thinking about that meat. They met up. They engaged in consensual kissing for about 40 minutes. However, Howard left the room and came back with Kitty.
A 7-foot tall broad.
Kitty, and this is the way the guy described it. With all due respect, Kitty's an older, unattractive person in their 40s who's transgender. Hours into me being at Dwight Howard's home, he ambushed me with this person. Kitty walks in with a full beard, 2-inch heels, and 28-piece church wig. Immediately, I was thrown off and uncomfortable and expressed that I wanted to leave, but he was forced into an unwanted threesome with Howard and Kitty. It was truly traumatic. It's affected him in many ways. He broke down in tears. Out of fear of intimidation, he did not speak. However, he will not sit back and allow lies to be told about him. He was not Dwight Howard's first victim, but hopefully it's his last. Now, I interviewed Royce Reed, his baby mother, which had You know, she had a lot to say about this.
That's the one he sued, so she couldn't tell his
Well,
story.
clearly she's talking at this point. So I guess
like he needed. The problem is like he sued, so she had to keep his name out of her mouth, but he wasn't keeping nobody else. that wasn't the problem that was in the mouth. I don't know what happened with Dwight Howard, but I will say this.
Yeah. When
he got on TV and he was talking about the whole Jesus God thing, right? Like, get behind me, Satan. Yeah, get behind me, Satan is different than get from behind me, Dwight. That ain't the same thing. How the fuck does God come between the shit you want to do? And why am I in my business? Like, it's this whole diatribe. You want to, hey, y'all in my business. Well, you want to, no, the side is in your business because you were accused of sexually assaulting somebody.
Yes.
Whoever you fuck or whatever you do ain't got shit to do with us.
Right. I mean.
But stop pretending like it's God or unreal. God does, like, this is, people say whatever they want. Every time I hear these Bible thumpers, it's the most gayest place on the fucking earth is the black church. The dudes in the black church are either, like hard, like really have, come and try to put their life together. The kids that got to go to church with their aunties are dudes that are trying to pray the love of dick out of their hearts. Like literally, those are the people. Like, how the fuck does God have anything to do with you making a dude perform a sexual act he wasn't with, and then telling me how we are wrong for being in your bed? Let's be quiet.
Well, yeah, he also said, where I lay my wood is my business. I remember my man, Coach PR, did an interview with him. He asked him if he was gay outright, and he just didn't want to answer. I mean, listen, if you're gay, you're gay. Just say you're gay.
Who cares?
Who cares? It's fucking 2023. Like, you have gay rap stars like Lil Nas X and, Frank Ocean and whoever else. Like, at the end of the day, it's probably the best time in history to come out as gay.
Let me tell you something. But he's a little tall to be gay. But I say that
he's tall to be gay. Well,
you got to go up on that motherfucker. Like, how do you do? But what I don't like is the conflation between it's none of my business, nobody else's business, and God and you. You did a thing where somebody's accusing you of sexual assault. Mm-hmm. They're saying that you, I was watching the podcast. I think it was it Cameron and
Mace, yeah.
Mace.
Yeah.
We said, it ain't consensual if it's surprise.
Yeah, someone surprised you. Right. Stop saying that what a person does in the privacy of their home is their own business, because that's just not true.
It's not.
It's just not. Not when you're a celebrity. Right. Now, if you're Frank who lives in Missouri, then yeah, it's your own business. Like, but once you get into any sort of public eye, it's no longer just your business. Like, for example, you post this on your Instagram. There was a 62-year-old mayor who identified as a thick transgender woman.
Right.
He was also a pastor.
Right.
Who ended up killing himself. Now, that's terrible. That's terrible.
It's not.
It's not terrible?
You know why?
Why?
Because he did things that led to the same people of his same situation doing the same things to himself. And he was, as a political figure, you participated in making people's lives better politically or worse. You chose, and that party chooses to make that at the centerpiece of the things that they attack.
Okay.
So I don't respect the fact, like, if you care more about who somebody's with and what they would dress like than the things that are actually dangerous to them. Like, in this country, at one point it was illegal for slaves to learn, and now it's illegal to learn about slaves. Like, at one point it was illegal for black people could go to the bathroom, then gay people couldn't go to the bathroom. Now transgender people can't go to the bathroom. And I'm like, what the fuck are white people keeping in the bathroom? That is so when you make people,
transgender people are allowed to go to the bathroom. It just depends on which bathroom they go to. No one's saying they can't go to the bathroom. It's just a debate as to which stall you go to.
Why did the bathrooms become this battleground? And why is it you killed yourself? Because the thing you attacked and made life harder for.
Yeah, hypocrisy.
Not even just hypocrisy. You actively decided to make people just like you made their life harder.
So he was anti-gay or something?
Oh, man, you can't.
Oh, okay.
You can't be somebody You're not going to be in that party in the southern region of the United States of America and not be for that, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you, man. Listen.
A thick trash. You was the funny thing the thing that was insulting to me is I'm a thick trash. You're a fat white dude is what you are. Like I didn't get that.
With a wig.
Come on now. Come on now. Don't stop.
All right, so let's talk about a serious issue. The Israel-Hamas war.
Sure.
You've said a lot on your Instagram about this.
Sure.
As well as me.
Sure.
I've said a lot. I went on the Breakfast Club. You know, I'm a Jewish man. I've been to Israel and I've been to Palestine.
Sure.
And right now, it's a very serious issue in terms of a polarizing issue in this country.
Sure.
In fact, I heard that this is the most war protests you've seen in America since the Iraqi war.
Yes. I would say this. When people say it's complicated, it's not. I want the people guilty of the crime to be punished for it. And the people who are not.
Yeah.
I think that if I think I read a thing by a spokesman for the IDF and they said they're killing 3 to 1, like 3 civilians to 1. Those numbers don't work.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're killing more of the people you don't intend to kill than the people you do, then either the metrics are wrong or you believe that's acceptable. And I think that the world doesn't.
Look, I'm Jewish. I've said this many times. I've taken the arrows over this. I've stood my ground.
Sure.
I have been to Israel, but I've also been to Palestine. I've had dinner with a Palestinian family in Palestine during my trip to Israel. I have very close Muslim friends, like people like my man Napoleon from the Outlaws, my man Trey D.
Mm-hmm.
I have unbelievable amount of love and respect for all the Muslim people out there, and I have love for the Palestinian people.
Right.
What Hamas did was horrific.
Absolutely.
1,000 people killed, hundreds of hostages.
No doubt.
You heard of the rapes and everything else
Sure.
like that to go along with it. Horrific. And those people should be punished. Now, I'm not a fan of Netanyahu. I've always said this.
I think most Israelis aren't a fan of Netanyahu.
Well, I mean, they're a fan enough of him to keep getting reelected for damn near our whole lives.
That's transactional. The thing that's interesting to me is if it were 15,000 Hamas fighters that got killed, no one would be having this argument.
Correct.
You cannot tell me that you're going to do these mass bombings where you don't, and your goal is to free the hostages. If you're carpet bombing an area this small and you don't know where the hostages are, there's a pretty good chance you're killing some of them too.
Correct.
I don't understand it. And the thing that I resent the most, there aren't human beings on just one side. Nobody corners the market on humanity. And I refuse. I can hold these two ideas in my head. I can hold the idea in my head that the Israeli people have a right to safety and defend themselves. And so do the Palestinians. And the people who perpetrated this crime should be punished.
Yeah.
But when you're telling me they raped and beheaded these women, I have no doubt that you believe that or that that's true.
Yeah.
What kid did that? What child?
No, none. And the people are caught in the middle of it. And honestly, and I've read up about this. Like, I understand. I mean, look, this literally goes back 2,000 years, right? Because Jerusalem, Israel was, the Jewish homeland. The Roman Empire came in and kicked out all the Jews. The Jews scattered all around Europe and the Middle East. The ones that went more to the Middle East became more brown and are known as Sephardic Jews. The ones who look like me, who went into Eastern Europe, are the Ashkenazi Jews, right? I recently did a DNA test, and I found out that a big chunk of my DNA is from the Middle East. Is Bedouin.
How could it not be?
Well, you never quite know, because sometimes you don't know what, how things are passed out.
Then why is it illegal to do DNA tests in Israel, though?
Oh, I don't know. Is it illegal?
Yes.
I don't know if it is.
I think that you can't do it. You can't. Yes, look, you should Google it. You can't. I don't think you can. The thing that's interesting to me is up until Ethiopians are Jews, right? The Ethiopians are Jews.
No, that's actually not true at all. In fact, they actually use DNA testing for the law of return, which actually allows people
for certain people, but there's some people who can't. So, for instance, Ethiopian Jews, right, were given de Provera.
Oh, this is interesting. So you might be right. It says if you do obtain it, you're forbidden from talking about it.
Okay.
That's weird.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. No, you're right.
So the thing that is interesting, it's undeniable.
France and Israel strictly prohibit the use of direct-to-consumer DNA testing websites, but are unable to regulate those that operate from abroad. Only 18 countries aside from the above have some regulations, blah, blah, blah.
So in other words, they don't want you to know or be able to decide for yourself or decipher without them controlling what your DNA is, right? Right?
A little weird, yeah.
It's weird for a reason.
It's weird, yeah.
Ethiopian Jews, who are Jews, they're as original as you come, were given de Provera. They were denied. They were not allowed. They were giving.
There are a lot of Ethiopian Jews in Israel.
Look what they did to them. They didn't let them.
I literally saw tons of Ethiopians.
They sterilized them. Look it up. They sterilized them. Up until 2013, they sterilized the Jews, the Ethiopian Jews, who are Jewish people. You don't, just because you're born of a region, all people in Israel aren't Jewish, and all people in Palestine aren't Palestinian.
Several critics claim that DEPO was administered as part of an official policy to limit the number of Ethiopians in Israel, thus crossing the line from birth control to population control. In many instances, patients did not receive adequate medical follow-up for side effects or other consequences. So DEPO was birth control.
That you didn't ask for. If I give you something you didn't ask for to stop you from having children, that is by definition sterilization, right?
Yeah, that's bad.
I'm not.
I don't know about that.
It's not bad.
I'm not for that.
I don't know about. So here's the thing for me.
Okay.
If you would sterilize people you think taint your blood, right? If you would cut off water and food from people you have a problem with, then why wouldn't I think that you might bomb them on purpose?
Yeah, man, it's a messed up situation.
It's really...
And I have publicly said that I do not agree with the bombings. I do not like Netanyahu. I feel that the open air prison that was created in Gaza ultimately created an air of hostility that culminated in what happened. Although it wasn't justified, I understand where the anger and everything started to culminate over the years. And honestly, from everything, like this conflict has been going on since before I was born.
Yes.
My whole life has been...
My father's life.
Your father's life has seen the Palestinian-Israeli conflict go without a pause. Without a pause. And from everything that I've seen, the only way to really fix this situation is to essentially give Palestinian the two-state solution, not promise it, not say, well, jump through these hoops and, okay, well, maybe in the future, whatever else. Palestine, Israel, two states, we're done. Everyone has sovereignty over their regions.
And get to decide what it is.
Yeah.
I was so angry about this. I went to the White House, right? And me and 9 other people.
That was the Kamala Harris thing?
Yes. Now, I'm not going to say who
lightweight jealous about this, but go ahead.
I'm not going to say
I saw
who
the picture. I'm joking. Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Well, I don't know who else was there, but I said to them, I'm so incensed about what happened. I understand that the Middle East policy is what it is, but I expected more humanity from you.
Yeah.
I said it and by the time I finished, they went, now I'm going to say who else was there. But what I do think is remarkable about America is Israel's a solid, sovereign country. America can't just say to Israel, stop it, and you stop it.
Right, yeah. They have no say. But they can stop the funding.
They can't stop the funding because that's up to the Congress to do. That money, the president can't tell Congress what to do.
No. When I say they, I meant the government.
And the government is going to, it wouldn't matter, whoever was president right now, it would be handled the exact same way. What I think is appalling is that you go, and I said this to him, he's Genocide Joe. When any president, any American president, any administration would be doing exactly the same thing they're doing right now. Exactly. Matter of fact, Trump says he's going to have a Muslim ban. America, this problem has been going on since the 1940s, and you think it should be solved in 7 weeks. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Now, I feel you, man. Listen, Israel is an American stronghold in the Middle East.
It is absolutely.
And that is the reason why it's funded so heavily. Now,
more than that, the reason it's funded so heavily is because Christian fundamentalists here believe that Jewish people need to be in the Holy Land or Jesus won't come back. More than anything else, those other things.
You think that's it?
That's absolutely the primary thing.
I've never heard that before.
You have never. Well, you should.
Christians feel that Jews should be in the Holy Land.
No, they don't believe that Jesus will come back unless Jesus.
I thought Jesus already did come back.
No, well, that depends on what
Jesus got. Easter, right?
Listen,
he came back.
Listen,
what, he's coming back again.
He's
doing an encore.
I have. Jesus doing a curtain call. No, you ain't getting me killed, man. I think here's the thing that I find ironic. If you look at the Maori people in New Zealand, right? They lived there 30,000 years before there's any contact with Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
The Native American lived here 30,000 years before there was contact with Europeans.
Yeah.
The San people of South Africa lived in those places for 40 or 50,000 years before there was. But what happened was when those people from Europe came, they took their land from them, right? They told them they were assigned specific regions of the place that they had always had run of.
Mm-hmm.
When they fought back, they killed them, and they said that you were a threat to our society. Then they also said that this land wasn't viable until we came here. Right? Now, I can't say that Native Americans or the Maoris or the San people are like Palestine. I can't say that at all, the people of Palestine. I can say they're pretty goddamn familiar and pretty goddamn similar. Where I lived here, then you came, then you told me that I had no right to be here, and you used God and guns as a pretext.
Well, they were both living there. Jews and Palestinians were all in that region. It was a English colony at the time, and it was a headache for England.
Sure. So
they just, because there was already fighting going on after World War II, they finally just said, okay, y'all figure it out. The Jewish people end up kind of taking over. They went to the United Nations. The United Nations said that's fine. That became an Israeli homeland. And then all the Arab countries attacked them. And this is where I think Israel made the mistake, is they ended up winning that war and took over a ton of land.
Sure.
Israel was a tiny place to begin with. I think if Israel was very small, the way it was originally, I don't think anyone would really have a huge problem with. But the fact that they took over Syrian land, they took over some land from Jordan, which I think they gave back at one point, and so forth. Like, Syria's still mad about the land they lost. I think like the Golan Heights and stuff like that. It's a whole thing. And you have someone in power, Netanyahu, whose brother died, to Palestinians, who has a grudge that he's never let go of. And he's always had these hardline politics, building in the West Bank, which I thought was always fucking stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Israel's a huge place. I have traveled all around Israel. Tel Aviv is a thriving city. People think that Israel is some like rundown. No, it's a first world country.
No. And a military
It looks
power.
It looks like Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? It looks like San Francisco in certain places. It looks like New York in certain places. It's not
technology,
like everything, internet, roads, everything. I remember going over the border from Israel to Egypt. I remember someone saying, like, look, you're going to see a big difference. Sure enough, you go over the border, dirt roads, everything is run down. It's a different place. It's not Israel. Now, the problem is that like Hamas doesn't recognize Israel as an actual sovereign country. They feel they're occupiers and refuse to talk to them. So any communication between Israel and Hamas has to be done through Palestine, through the Palestinian Authority.
Right.
So you have a problem. But I think ultimately the solution is give Palestine their state where they don't have to depend on Hamas. If you give them a better alternative to Hamas, Hamas will over time cease to exist.
I think that would require a couple of things. That they are human beings. That they're all human beings, entitled to the same right of self-determination as anybody else.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe, and I don't care who gets mad at me for saying this, that anybody is more human or have a bigger right to life or security than anybody else. The thing that I find amazing, if you look at the break, and what's also happening now is, for the first time in our history, young Jewish people that go to college now have a different estimation of what they think the government is doing in terms of their relationship to Palestine.
Yeah.
The United States of America is as favorable to the Palestinian view, Palestine view as they are today, but because they are seeing more and more images they can't reconcile. The thing that is consistent is no matter where you go, there need to be a lot of black or brown bodies before the rest of the European world goes, oh, this is horrible. You can't just have a few people die. You have to see it over and over again. It has to be undeniable and unassailable. To me, and the thing that galls me, Vlad, is if I say something about the Palestinian people or the Israeli people, they're like, well, you ain't talking about our community. I can hold in my head the idea that horrible shit happens here and horrible shit happens there. And one of the things black people do here is when something bad for us, we supplicate the world. We ask everybody to hear our struggle and what I'm gonna be human in my circumstances and somebody else's. And if they can't understand it, then I don't know what to fucking tell you. I am sad about the women and men that were kidnapped by Hamas.
Yeah.
I'm sad about that. I'm also sad about children dying in nurseries.
Yeah.
I don't think that there has to be a either or.
Yeah.
But you cannot tell me that the people that are dying that you didn't intend to kill are an acceptable equation. I don't believe it.
I agree, which is why when you saw me in the Breakfast Club, I'm like, look, Drake and DJ Khaled are the most popular Jewish and Palestinian humans on the planet. They should say something. I'm not saying to take a side, but you should say something. And shortly after, Drake made a statement.
Well, you know why? What does they say? Heavy is the head that rests the crown.
Yeah.
You were blessed with a voice where you could bring people together.
Right.
Music, no matter, is a universal language. Like math is a universal language. Like laughter and love, a universal language. You can tell. Do you know who changed the world idea of the Vietnam struggle? It wasn't politicians. It was Muhammad Ali, an artist.
Well,
an athlete is artistry, so you can say whatever you want.
Okay.
It wasn't a politician.
I see where you're going with this. Okay.
It was.
But it was also the musicians. It was Woodstock. It was John Lennon.
Art changed the world.
Exactly.
Art.
Exactly.
Artist.
Right. Which annoys me because DJ Khaled, the artist who always said he is the son of a Palestinian shoemaker, hasn't said a goddamn word.
Well,
to this day.
I can only say this.
Pathetic, if you ask me.
I can't say what his motivations are or not. I can say this. I couldn't sleep with myself.
Yeah.
I don't know what your motivations are. I know this. I would not be watching people slaughtered wholesale. People being held against their will wholesale and not say anything.
Yeah.
And I think that to me, it means a certain thing. I can't tell you what it means.
No, listen, this is why my tweet about Drake and Khaled went viral. Like 5-6 million impressions and everything. And it got on their radar. I know it did, especially after the Breakfast Club appearance. And like I said, Drake said something right away. In fact, 40, I think, has Palestinian family. He said something even before then. Say something. You don't have to agree. You don't have to say one side is better than the other because both sides are fucked up right now.
Yes.
Both sides are wrong.
Yes.
Both.
Yes.
100%.
But you know who isn't? Those children dying in nurseries.
Absolutely.
So the thing to me is,
yeah, it's fucked up. And Hamas is using the Palestinian people as human shields. They have underground tunnels underneath the hospitals and the schools.
But
they know what they're doing. It goes both ways. It's fucked up.
It is fucked up. But almost every time I hear that argument, when I hear a policeman, they kill somebody, and I hear black people go, "Well, we kill people all the time." It's black on black crime. There are always ways that people make excuses for the people who are killing them to go, well, we do it. I think, to me, that is because you believe some people are more human or more deserving of life and more deserving of respect and deserving of empathy. I can look at the people that were kidnapped and feel nothing but sympathy and compassion for them. For the woman that were raped, and feel nothing but sympathy and compassion for them. And I can also do that with the people on the other side. It is when people decide that I can only cry for children or women that look like this or the other.
Yeah.
And I can't say what anybody else does. I refuse. Before I was a black man, before I was a father, before I was a husband, before I was anything, I was a human being, and I refuse to not be one because it's inconvenient for people.
I agree. You commented on this. Special Ed, who I recently interviewed, who actually was my first hip-hop interview ever in life. In 2002, I went to his house. I interviewed him for a book that never came out. On Drink Champs, he said that NWA brought destruction to hip-hop.
And that's when I hear stuff like that, I watch people go, well, we say nigga in hip-hop all the time. And that's why they say it. Nigga's been the American lexicon since the early 1700s. Hip-hop been around since 1975. What came first, nigga or the Sugar Hill Gang? Like
clearly the N-word was around way before
problems that
hip-hop.
have existed in our communities have existed for decades. Illustrating them and talking about them gave somebody an excuse, but it didn't create them. It didn't make them exist. I think that we have a problem all the time when we kill the messenger and not the message. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't people who were. I heard somebody say this is the craziest shit in the world to me. Now people believe, well, we are violent in America because we have Grand Theft Auto and because we have, Grand Theft Auto is making people more violent, right? In America, it says. Or movies are making people. Well, they show those same movies and play those same games everywhere else, right? Why is it here that they're more violent? Why is it that they're mentally ill people all over the world? Why is it here that they're more violent? It is because they have the tools to express their violence. If Grand Theft Auto makes us violent, then that must mean Pac-Man made us fat, right?
Well, look, I talked to Special Ed about this. Number one, he said that his comments were directed to NWA. And he spoke to the various NWA members about this. He spoke to Ice Cube about this. I think he spoke to Yella about this and so forth. And what he said, like with Ice Cube said, look, when they first created these songs, it was just local. And it was almost parody of what was happening in their neighborhood. They didn't expect it to get as big as it got.
I did have a discussion with Cube, and he understands where I'm coming from, and I understand where he's coming from. They say that they were just making, I wouldn't say parody, but records for the hood, selling out the trunk. It wasn't intended for global scale marketing, but that's where it was taken.
Well, I mean, listen, the original records is true, but Straight Outta Compton was a major release that went number
afterwards.
one. Everyone knew by the time. Straight Outta Compton was so eagerly anticipated by hip hop fans that you can't say this is out the trunk anymore.
Right. Well, they have to take some accountability, but at the end of the day now, once again, we go back to the labels. Now, it comes to a point where the labels are paying artists to emulate this, paying the artists in this genre, paying the artists to send these messages out, to continue, because they did see the effect that it had, just like they saw the effect that empowerment of the conscious music had.
But, for example, and I spoke to him about this, when you look at people like Alonzo from the World Class Wrecking,
right,
who was there,
and I used to go
at Ground Zero.
I used to go to Eve at the Dark, where I used to walk from my house and go to Eve at the Dark.
So what he told me, now this is firsthand accounts. This is not me and you, well, me especially talking from the outside looking in, because I didn't grow up in LA. He said like this. He said, look, before NWA came out, he used to throw parties like this Eve After Dark that you're talking about, right?
Jesse's Eve at the Dark.
Exactly.
I used to walk there all the time.
He was a big promoter, along with being a musician in the World Class Wrecking Crew, right? That was his group. And Dr. Dre and Yella were in that group. He said when he was throwing parties before NWA, there was a couple of gangsters that would show up and sometimes there'd be a problem and everything else like that. But after NWA became uber popular, these shows would be like 70, 80% gangster. Like there was constant violence. They popularized it to such a point where everyone wanted to emulate them. And with the emulation, more violence came.
When you look at the effects that NWA had in terms of gangster rap, not only affecting the music, but also affecting the communities and so forth. But what do you think about it?
Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. When I first got into the club business, 1979, now, first of all, gangs have been around forever in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Gangs had different reasons for existence. Some gangs started off to fight white people. Some gangs were designed to fight the police in the community, because what we're experiencing right now is nothing new. It's just being televised more. So the ratio of gangbangers to civilians was minuscule in the early 70s and early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, okay? Right after NWA, now I've been in the club business all this time, and I stopped making records. Went back to my second career, which is nightclub owner. What happened was NWA and gangster rap made gangster lifestyle cool. So the ratio started to change. Everybody was a gangbanger. It used to be 5% gangbanger, okay? Because gangbangers, once upon a time, had a code. You just couldn't have a gun. You had to be able to fight. You had to have something to bring to the hood other than a pistol. Well, at some point in time, when the dope and the gangbanging became profitable, everybody became a gangbanger. So now you got 95% gangsters or 90% gangsters and 10% civilians. And when that happened, everything went crazy, because now theaters, clubs, parking lots, the park, everything is a war zone.
I don't think you could completely deny it. I don't think you could completely say
but it's
that
cause and effect,
especially in LA, had some level of a domino effect where people wanted to be like that. In the same way that you could say that Colors introduced the world to Crips and Bloods, and now you have this Crip and Blood thing all over the world. Okay, we can disagree. I respect your opinion.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
What exacerbated gang violence in LA wasn't Colors, and it wasn't NWA. There was a proposition that passed called Proposition 13. Okay. And what Proposition 13 did was took and attached all the money that was allocated to a place by property taxes. When those property taxes were, so they took summer school programs out, they took after school programs out, they took busing out. So you took all that away, and then 5 to 7 years later, you had this spike in crime. Now, you could say it was NWA, or you could say that it was a world-class wrecking crew, or I could say...
Well, world-class wrecking crew was never a gangster group.
But I'm saying you could say that it was it was gangster, or it was a legislative, short-sighted thing that took resources out and that manifested itself in a way. California had to pass a law that said that now, prisoners had to get $8,000 worth of medical. And what happened? They let 20,000 people go. So I do not believe for 1 minute it was the art that started it. I think it was legislation that devoided a community. And I'm a pretty bright dude. You know why I stopped going to school? They took the buses out of my schools. I had to walk through it was like fucking Colors. I had to walk through the Shotgun and the Payback and the Raymonds to get to fucking school. By the time like all the real niggas got kicked out, and by the time I was finished, I was walking to schools with niggas that play oboe. The band members were there. So what happened?
Listen, I understand that part, and I'm fully in agreement with you in that regard. But you can't deny that NWA romanticized LA.
I will not deny that at all.
Culture to the whole point, to the whole world, because this was, although Ice-T was around before, 6 in the morning was not Straight Outta Compton or Fuck the Police. Not on that caliber. It just wasn't.
But why
they became a worldwide phenomenon, and a lot of people started to want to be like that.
Because of the experiences they were having, because of the resources that were taken from them. They didn't start talking about things that wasn't happening.
Right, but I'm saying that the level of popularization of that group influenced a lot of young men and women, but mostly men.
You could say the same thing about jazz. You could say the same thing about...
Jazz does not have violent imagery all throughout the music. Jazz, no.
A lot of drug addicts, a lot of drug use.
No, there was drug addicts that happened. The artists became drug addicts, but the drugs were not pushed in the music. It was mostly instrumental music.
I think that when we're talking about cause and effect, we always look at the effect, but not the cause. The effect was what NWA did. The cause
fair enough.
was legislation. California had, people forget this, California was Texas 25 years ago. It was Texas. This three strikes law, where they took affirmative action out of colleges and universities.
Yeah, I remember.
Being hard on immigrants. That's Texas.
Yeah.
You would never see that now.
Yeah.
What happened was an influx of immigrants. We always look at the effect and never the cause. Why is it, at one point in California, they had more prisons, more young people in prison than any other country in the world. It was so bad that I had to apologize to Kamala Harris because I disliked, like I'd been fond of her, but I associated her with what I'd seen in California and the fact that she was different than I had accused her of being made me have to apologize to her. Yes, it was NWA romanticized a thing, or I think they were telling their experiences and people put a romantic connection to it.
Correct.
But it came from somewhere.
Look, I mean, music has always had this interesting role. Hip hop, especially, like for example, there was a video that circulated of Chris Brown hanging out with Kanye in Saudi Arabia. And people were like, oh, Kanye is, anti-Jewish and said all the anti-Semitic stuff. And people were kind of bashing Chris Brown. Chris Brown's like, I'm not Jewish or Muslim. I'm Pyru.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like,
and I live around the corner from
like
Pyru.
I had to laugh when I read that. I'm like, this is a religion of some sort? Like Pyru is now a religion? And Chris Brown grew up in friggin' Virginia and became a Pyru when he moved to LA, which is as an adult.
It's funny to me.
Listen, I get why Whack 100 was here the other week, right? I get it. At 12 years old, his brother's a Pyru. He's in a Pyru neighborhood. He got jumped in. He's in the environment. Dad's on drugs. Like he's doing what he has to do. I get why Whack 100 is how he is. I don't understand why Chris Brown is the way he is.
The thing that's funny, like if I grew up on 135th and
Avalon. You wrote Blood, right?
This is the funny thing. I grew up on 135th and Avalon between our neighborhood was between Main and Avalon, between Rosecrans and 135th. You know what's 3 blocks from my street on 139? Pyru Street.
Okay.
So I grew
the actual Pyru Street. Right.
I lived 2 blocks. I would walk to Pyru Street. I understand what it is, but I understood what it was before these things started to be a factor in the way and impact the way that people process things. Imagine everybody, we used to be able to go to after school programs, free lunch programs. We would go to, they would have games and we play caroms and activities. When all that was gone, if idle time is a devil's play shop, what is idle time for young, disaffected Black youths? So it's easier to take the effect and say it's these people that did this, as opposed to dealing with a society that short-sightedly created a society that they had no idea for. Like when that happened, the world went crazy.
Listen, I get it. I don't say that if it wasn't for NWA, everyone would be happy and hugging each other and peaceful. It's obviously systematic racism, COINTELPRO, laws, racism. I get all that. But I'm saying that NWA is a piece of this puzzle. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's a small piece of the puzzle.
Okay, it's a small piece of the puzzle.
I think it's reductionist.
It's a small piece. Never said it was a big piece, but it is a small piece. But without that piece, the puzzle's not complete.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
Then we can agree.
There you go. Slim Thug recently went on some tirades. One of which was about me. He was saying that Vlad shouldn't be allowed to speak about Black topics because I'm German. Clearly, Slim Thug doesn't travel much because a name like Vlad is not German.
Well, I don't know this. Well, should niggas be able to drive Mercedes? Because
Well, and then he went on, and there's a recent video where he's saying that Jews shouldn't be allowed to own black music. If you're white, you should only be able to own white music. If you're Spanish, you should only get Spanish music. And if you're black, you should only be allowed to own black music.
Needless to say, I have a different estimation of that assessment.
Okay.
I think music is the international language of love. I think music is a language all itself. There are only three or four things. Love translates, music translates, math translates, and laughter does. Mm. So if you think that you're going to be an art goes out to the world, people absorb it, take what they want from it. I don't want to live in a world that only the people that look like me can absorb my art. People that think like I think, and I would imagine that a lot of artists would be. You think Beyonce would be as successful and rich as she are if just one group of people? She is one group, or Jay-Z, or Kanye, or any of these people, or Denzel, like any of these people who are uber successful, Will Smith, all these people.
Yeah.
If only one group of people did it. Basketball player, you think LeBron would be as like? It's a myopic view of the world.
Yeah, man, it was a little ridiculous. I mean. So does that mean that Slim Thug shouldn't be allowed to buy stock in companies that aren't black owned?
I think that
he should be able to own a car that's not made by a black manufacturer. He shouldn't be allowed to eat at restaurants. You know, I mean, this is what Martin Luther King fought for. And he said, it's not equality, it's just fair. And it's fair. No. He says it's not racist. This is what he said. It's not racist, it's equal.
Well.
And it's not equal.
I think that
it's silly.
Here's what I actually think. People should be able to buy or go or do what they like.
Correct.
To. Don't tell me about cultural appropriation when we got macaroni and cheese. That ain't from Africa. Like, what? Stop it. There's shit that we take from them. There's shit that they take from us. The bottom line to me is really simple.
Right.
You can like what you like and not like. I don't need to explain my predilections, my likes, my desires, my hates, my loves to anybody. And I don't think anybody else should have to. You know why I talk to you? Because I have a relationship and I like you. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't be here.
Correct.
And I don't necessarily care what people's notion of that is. Mm-hmm. I've seen needless to say, I believe I know you. I believe you know me.
Correct.
You've been in my home.
Yeah.
So whatever people think of you or have of you, I don't have to defend that idea of them, of you. What I can say is, I know this dude. I look forward to talking to him. I don't have the same relationship that anybody else does. It is stupid to believe that you only belong to the people you look like. If you only belong to the people you look like, then the people who have created these segments and these societies and these differences are winning.
Right. And to say that you could only talk about people that you look like is silly. That means that Slim Thug can't talk about the presidents. He can't talk about...
He can talk about one of them.
He can talk about one president.
And the vice president.
And the vice president.
And two Supreme Court judges.
Well, he can't actually talk about me then, because I'm white. So under his own set of rules, he can't make comments about me.
Should only women be able to birth babies and to bring babies, to be gynecologists and bring babies into the world? Should only painters look a certain way, artists look a certain way? But the one thing that's consistent about people in society is we're very tribal.
Of course.
And so
and I get it. I understand why he said it. I just think it's silly. And I'm not gonna I don't pay it any kind of mind. I will continue to talk about whoever I want to talk about. And I will deal with the repercussions of talking about those people. I'm not saying there's no repercussions. Of course there's repercussions. In the words of Ice-T, freedom of speech, just watch what you say.
Yeah. Watch your mouth.
Yeah, watch your mouth. So I understand there's repercussions about me talking about various people. And I get it, and I stand behind my words. You've known me long enough to know that I stand my ground.
I do.
And I take the arrows and the barbs and the attacks and all that, and I will still stand my ground. And I'm not going to let anybody out there tell me who I can or cannot talk about.
That's exactly how I feel.
Exactly.
And I think I don't know what happened, but at one point I thought Like, I think I couldn't do something. And I never wanted you to, like, to me, if I can't do it, like, it's mostly hit or miss with us. I'll say I'm here, you'll say, like, it's,
Yeah.
But when it happens, I enjoy it. I hope you do
We're
too.
both moving around, yeah.
I don't give a fuck what people think of you. And I hope you don't give a fuck what people think of me.
Not at
I
all.
think we have interesting, and there have been times when people have certainly not been on my side or certainly not been on your side.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
fine.
the way it goes.
Yeah.
I think you have interesting conversations. I have had interesting conversations, say, with you on and off air. I think that to reduce things to, and I love black people. I swear I do. But to reduce things to this notion that we can only have meaningful dialogue if we look the same, eat the same, think the same, and believe the same is the reason we're so static right now.
Of course. I mean, I learned something new about Israel during our conversation.
Of course.
And you are not Jewish. You are not Israeli.
No.
Have you been to Israel?
No.
You haven't even been to Israel. And yet you taught me some things.
But I have agents, so it's just...
You got Jewish agents. No, but I'm just saying, like, I learned from you about certain things I didn't know. And it's disturbing to me. And I'm going to look more into it. Because as you're speaking, I'm actually looking it up. And it's like, oh, no, it's not just conspiracy theory. There's actually...
Right, you did.
Yeah.
He's not bullshitting.
He's not bullshitting.
You know what? I'm not. I'm not as dumb as
respect
people
it.
think I am. I'm literally not. I promise you, I'm not.
Well, I just had Carlos Mencia on my show.
Who I love. I fucking, you know what? I love, and I always have, and I would say that in front of anybody. I fucking love Carlos Mencia. I hated what happened to him and the perception of what happened to him. And
I didn't know very much about Carlos Mencia before the interview. The interview was brought to me.
Right.
They say, hey, do you want to interview Carlos? I'm like, oh, I know the name. I never watched The Mind of Mencia
Right.
for whatever reason,
Right.
not because it wasn't a great show. I just never watched it. I've never seen his stand-ups, but I know the name. And you know me, I fuck with comedians heavy.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, another comedian. Let's bring him on. So I started doing the research, and it was like, wow, okay. So he was essentially the first comedian to get canceled, right?
He was.
If you look at the timeline of what happened, because Joe Rogan basically came on stage and accused him of stealing jokes.
Yep.
So you know all about this.
I
I learned about it recently, and then through our interview, we got to discuss. I don't know if you saw the interview or not, but it got deep.
I haven't seen that, but yeah.
I mean, he got teary-eyed at one
course.
point, and it's interesting because, listen, everyone gets quote unquote canceled, attacked throughout their careers. It's happened to me. It's happened to you. You get past it. Unless you go to jail or you die, you usually could get past it if you continue to work. But in Carlos's case, you saw a real effect.
I did.
Of this.
I did.
To the point where he was doing like stadiums and now he's doing small clubs in Montana.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know that. So you can say a thing about Dane Cook too. You can say about Andrew. So I don't know that is the
Dane Cook.
Yeah.
What happened to Dane Cook?
He's not playing the venues he did before.
Okay, fair enough.
And Andrew Dice Clay is not playing the venues he did before.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
don't know
Okay,
that
those are good examples.
It's a function of that. I will say this, and I would say this in front of anybody. I've liked Carlos. I've always thought what happened to him was not quite fair.
Yeah.
It was a feeding frenzy. It's one I didn't take part in.
Yeah.
And I think he's an immensely talented. I'll tell you what, I don't even remember where we were. But we were on a plane and I saw Carlos. And we'd always been close and cool. And he looked at me like he didn't know how I would accept. Like, hey man, I don't give a fuck what nobody say about you.
Yeah.
I think you fly, and I'm gonna fuck with you because I think like there's a feeding frenzy that happens, and he was caught up in it, and I don't think it was necessarily fair, but I think it's kind of a function of what happens. I hated the most that he absorbed it. Like shit that happens to you, it's happened so much. You can roll with the punch. It's the punch you don't see coming that knocks you out. I just thought that it shouldn't have landed, and it did, and he took it he took it to heart, and it really, I think, did something to him. Now, I can't tell you if that's the truth or not, but it seemed like he withdrew and became a different iteration of himself.
I mean, I talked to TK Kirkland about this before the interview, because I was like, okay, I'm about to interview this prominent person in the comedic community. Let me go talk to some prominent comedians I know. I talked to TK. I also talked to Faison. And, what TK said was this whole accusation of stealing jokes, from his point of view, just seems petty.
It does.
Because everyone copies jokes to a certain degree, right? He's like, look, he has this new stand-up, and he says someone hit him up and said, hey, this one joke you said was really similar to some Sinbad joke. And he goes, I've never watched a Sinbad stand-up. Just in all honesty, nothing against Sinbad. I've just never seen any of his stand-up. So it's just by coincidence that we're talking about these various jokes. And, like, for example, have you ever been accused of stealing jokes?
Yes. Yes.
See what I mean?
Yes. And anybody who denies being influenced by other people. Dennis Miller accused me of stealing jokes.
Really?
Yes. Now, there are not people I hate. I hate Dennis Miller. I'd fight Dennis Miller, like, for real. Like, I'd fight him. Like, even now.
Is he still alive?
If I had a chance to make that not a possibility, I would. Okay. But I did. Like,
he's 70 years old, by the way.
Yeah,
so
then
you can probably, I'm pretty sure you can take him at this point.
I despise that motherfucker.
Okay.
Like, literally. Anybody who, I just think it was a feeding frenzy. I think it's petty, like I said earlier. And I think anybody who, but I think they had a chance. They gained up. And Carlos had a lot of traction. It was happening.
Well, he had a show on Comedy Central.
And he had the show at the same time I had Weekends at the DL. So I think he's talented. I think he's still talented. I think what people did to him was a function of how small-minded and myopic they could be. And I hope that he understands that there are more people than not that get him, dig him, and respect him.
Well, yeah. I mean, he even talked about how him and George Lopez got into a fist fight, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because George Lopez accused him of stealing jokes. And we actually went into the joke where he was like, George accused him of stealing jokes where, like, he said, like, as a kid, as a Mexican kid, they didn't have remote control. The remote control was their parents telling them to go switch the TV. And he goes, if you look at my joke when I'm saying this, it was like 10 years before George Lopez even said it. He's like, you can even see by the resolution of the video, it was done in like the 80s or something. George Lopez shit was like in more widescreen. So you could tell just by a glance what the time difference is. But George was like, well, I'm older, so you just need to stop telling the jokes. And then that led into like a physical altercation.
I remember that.
When I was a kid, we didn't have remote controls. Our parents would hit us in the head and,
by the way,
tell us to change channels.
Yeah, except if you watch those two pieces, he tells the joke literally in 2001 or 2002, I believe it is.
Yeah.
You could tell how old he is.
Yeah.
In the bit. The bit that I did it in 1993. So you can not only
8 years earlier,
look at my, first of all, one is shot in 480 interlaced. Right?
Right.
And you can tell by the fuzziness of it that it was shot
not widescreen.
In a square.
Yeah, in a square.
So in order to be shot in a square, we're talking about, it had to be
in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
So his stuff comes out. And so, like, even that is one of my, like, I want to yell out, like, look, I'm like 19. He's 40.
According to reports, it said that he grabbed you and kind of slammed you against the wall.
Oh, yeah. No, I went upstairs and I said, so this is what happened. I go, George, let's talk. And then he said something aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, bro, like, I'm here to talk. What have I ever done to you? And his wife said, you know what you did? You know where it goes. And at that moment, I knew I made a mistake. Because I'm like, if his wife is talking to me that way, that means they talk about it.
Yeah. It's
a part of their life. My name comes out of their mouths when they're in bed or something. And this is, so then he grabs me as I have this chain like this. So he grabbed me by kind of the shirt, kind of the and ripped it out. And as he was grabbing me, I looked at him and I said, is this what we're going to do? We're going to do this right now? And he looked at me and he let go. And I walked downstairs. But that was me, again, trying to, confront something from a positive perspective, to make it better, to try to make it better.
I tell you what, George is one of my best friends.
Okay.
Not just in comedy.
Did you ever talk to him about that?
No. But I would say this. I think that the older you get, the more things you've been through, you have a different way of looking at things. And I would say this, no matter who was here. I think that both, I know George on a more personal level than Carlos. And George is one of the most gracious, like it's a lot of people financially that got in trouble and George bailed them out. And I'm talking some very famous people. And he'd never say anything about it. He'd probably get pissed if I were saying that. But I hate to think that two talented, bright, humane, empathic human beings at a later date when they weren't involved in this kind of kerfuffle wouldn't be able to say, me and Eddie Griffith had a huge fight years ago.
Really? Over what?
It was a long time ago. It was heated. It was a horrible, horrible fight.
Okay. Was it a fist fight?
Yes.
Really?
A fist fight.
Okay.
He's one of my dearest friends in comedy now.
Yeah. I've been to his house in Vegas. That's where I interviewed him. Yeah.
30 years ago. 25, 30 years ago. We just played a gig together. Eddie got me $100,000 for playing a gig.
Wow. Okay.
On a Friday, just cause on some humbug stuff. Me, said Felipe Esparza, carry on. I could never have imagined 25 years ago that we would ever be at this place. He calls and wishes me Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday. I call him, congratulations. We are friends. Even though we had this horrible, we hated each other. Mm. So I know that when you do a thing and you generally get, and we had this argument, we had this conversation where I was young, you were young, we respected each other. And so he's one of my, so I hope that, and I know that could happen when people don't take themselves so seriously and listen to each other. Literally one of my dearest, I don't talk to Eddie all the time, but when I do talk to him, it counts.
No, listen, me and Whack 100 had a beef with each other for 10 years.
And that's why I was shocked that you, when you told me,
No one saw this coming.
When you said it, I was like, did he just say
10 years ago, we got into it with each other over the phone. I made some mistakes. He made some mistakes. The conversation got heated, and I said, I'm not dealing with this dude anymore after this conversation. So for 10 years, we've essentially not rocked with each other. We've been in similar circles and whatever else. And it got down to, I was booking the game for an interview, and he managed the game. And without his involvement, it all fell apart. And he had reached out to me maybe a month before that. So I'm like, let me just get on the phone and talk to him. Fuck it. Let's just get on the phone. This is 10 years ago. And we got on the phone and we said, I started out with listen, we got into it 10 years ago. We could sit here and argue with each other about who was right and who was wrong. But I'll tell you right now, I made some mistakes and so did you. So instead of sitting there and picking at each other, we've made millions of dollars since then.
Yeah.
And we have some business on the table. So what do you want to do? He's like, let's do it. I said, let's do it.
When you told me, the funny thing about, when me and Kanye got into it, we talked to Wack, and me and Wack had an argument. And I'm like, I'm from here, you from here.
Yeah. We
had a heated argument.
Uh-huh.
That dude that did that shit to me came up to me in the bathroom and started telling, who the first person called me was?
Wack.
Like, hey man.
Thelonious London, you're talking about.
like whatever the nigga name is. I don't think people are as bad as people make them out to be.
Right.
I think listen, what I've noticed about people is genuinely, without all the trappings and the bullshit around, they just regular people.
Exactly.
And if you're a regular dude and straight up dude, you'll be all right.
And ultimately, if both people, stand their ground and present themselves as men and adults, the other person will eventually respect that.
And
You
if
know
they
what I'm
don't,
saying?
they fucked up
I
anyway.
never bowed down to Wack. He never
Right.
bowed down to
Yeah.
me. He saw how I operated. I saw how he operated. When it came, if there was it turned into a situation where there was a reason for us to talk. It wasn't me asking him for a favor or me asking him to help me with something. Like, listen, we got some business. We gonna be business people, or are we just gonna be on some rah-rah shit? The rah-rah shit hasn't helped either one of us because we both missed out on opportunities working together all these years. So
well, I can tell you 50 now, baby.
yeah, I'm 50.
You were such a kid when I first talked to you.
I know, right?
Now you're so mature.
You know something? One of the things that Carlos said that people are kind of having some issues with was he was talking about a situation with Def Comedy Jam.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the second season of Def Comedy Jam
Yeah.
was hot to death. Were you on Def Comedy Jam?
I was a bit. Come on, now come. Was I? Are you? I've been on.
It's been a long time ago. I don't remember.
I was on the first season.
The first
second
season. Okay, there
all
we
of
go.
them.
Got it.
I've
Okay,
done
sorry.
like 5.
Sorry to
Yes.
you know, to insult
You
you
are
on this.
showing your youth, baby.
Right. So he said the second season of the show was hot to death. He did a routine. He tore the house down, whatever else. And he said that one of the guys in charge basically told him, listen, you did your thing, but every black comedian in the world wants to be on the stage, and we just can't have a Latino right now. And he said, so you're telling me you're an N-word treating me like an N-word. But he actually said it. I had to beep it out because I felt that people would find that offensive.
Like I remember for the second season of for the second season of Def Jam, that's what it was. I get a standing ovation. Maverick Flats over there in Crenshaw. Killed it. Standing ovation. They call me the next day and the producer goes, listen, man, we can't open that can of worms right now. We got a hit show for black people. And every comedian alive wants to be on Def Jam. You are the funniest guy we've had, but if we put you on the show, we're going to open that door and we just don't want to go there. We don't want to have to answer those questions. We don't have to deal with it for now. It's just going to be black comedians. And I cannot repeat what came out of my mouth. I wasn't angry. No, it wasn't angry.
What was it?
It wasn't mean. Well, you got to understand that the person I was speaking to was a friend. And so I said, be real. Let's be real. I'm not mad, but just tell me the truth. Did I just get treated like a by an? Is that what just happened? Because you've been treated like this for a long time and they wouldn't put you on their shows. And now that you have the power, you doing that shit to me? Is that what's happening here? And he said, yeah, it is. And I said, cool. I'll never mention your name. I'll never talk about this like that. This is the first time I've ever talked about it. And I shouldn't. I should have kept my mouth shut. But anyway.
Was it Russell Simmons?
Okay.
Okay.
I can't say what it was, but it was.
I know Russell, that's why.
But anyway.
I got you.
But you know, look, I even look back and like that. I mean, I'm sure that if I really wanted to, I could have like went and made a stink about this and said, hey, look at what Def Jam's doing. Look at the black, you know what I mean? It could have raised something, raised my profile in some way, made it to kind of flip it around to come to my advantage. It's never been who I am, man. I understood. I got it.
Because he's not black.
I don't, listen, I'm a wordsmith. Listen, freedom of speech means you're going to say some shit that I don't like, and I'm going to say some shit you don't like. I don't think that word, that belongs to just me. I know Carlos. I get to eat. I remember years ago, we were on ABC, and to kind of dovetail what you're saying. And Jamie, they had Sports Night was a show that Aaron Sorkin had on ABC. And I was on with Home Improvement. And I did really, really well. And Sports Night wasn't doing that well, but Jamie decided to pick up Sports Night because Aaron Sorkin is a talented dude who I ended up working with on Studio 60 later on. And she took me to lunch at this place on Ventura Boulevard. It was a little French place. It doesn't exist anymore. And she said, "You do understand that, what we have to do." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I understand." I said, "You got to understand this. I've been a nigga for a long time, and you've been treating people like me like niggas for a long time. So it's the same thing." And so I understand the sentiment. I don't think verbiage, attitude, inflection, all this shit belongs to me. I don't trip off what people do. I think I understand what Carlos intended, what he meant, and I'm not offended by it in the slightest.
If Gary Owen had said the same thing, would you be offended?
No.
No.
Gary got divorced and got his money taken by a black woman. It used to be Owens, and now she took the S. If Gary never fucked with another black woman again, I'd understand it. I just work with him Friday. I don't like things like that. Don't ever I never get bothered by the things because I know a lot of people have been mad at things I've said. So why would I don't think anybody has latitude. I don't have. Why would I say the shit I say and then get mad at somebody said that's not look for somebody else to do that.
Lauryn Hill, speaking of black women, she got up on stage and told the audience that they're lucky that she shows up at all to her shows. A whole place full of paying customers. And I remember shortly afterward, this woman basically said, she had this whole post that said, I went and got a babysitter and took time off from work to go to this Lauryn Hill concert. Yes. I drove 3 hours. And I was thinking the worst thing that was going to happen was she was going to show up late, only to show up when the concert was canceled.
I will say this. The only contract that you sign as an artist is the one with you. The only contract that matters, really. I shouldn't say matters, really. The most significant contract is the one that the artist signs with the consumer. When that person buys a ticket to see you do what you do, they're investing money and time. Time you don't ever get back.
Correct.
I remember seeing Lauryn Hill years ago at the University of Athens. It's not that now, right? But she was so dynamic that I thought she must have had more, she only sang Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, but I thought it was and it was one of her music is in in Congress. She's that.
But her album is phenomenal.
It is one of the greatest albums I've ever heard.
One of the greatest albums of all time.
That does not mean that you are so arrogant that you get to decide that people's time isn't worth your effort. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I think it's insulting to tell the people that their time and money isn't worth your effort, and I'm blessed to have you, as if I came down from on high, and I think that's insulting for me. Now, I can't say what her motivations were. I can say for me, it is insulting to have people get babysitters and get their hair done, talk about it online, be excited for that you're the escape, basically. And for you to say, you lucky I came here is insulting to me.
Yeah, and then shortly afterwards, she canceled the whole rest of her tour.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I just feel like Lauryn is one of these people who just don't like to do it anymore. You reach a point in your life, something you like to do in your 20s, you don't necessarily like to do in your 50s.
Well, then you should.
You shouldn't waste people's time by taking that deposit. By having the venue advertise your show, having people.
I agree.
I think it's trash behavior. And listen, I know the Fugees. I know Praz. I know Jerry Wonder. I've interviewed Wyclef. I've never met Lauryn, not surprisingly. You know what I mean? But
I think any artist who takes their audience for granted.
Yes.
Is a level of the one thing that you don't get back is time. And I decided to invest some of it in you. For me, that is disrespectful. Now, I don't know what it's like. I'm out every week doing comedy. I don't know what it's like to not want to do it. But to me, the contract that you signed In addition to the agents, the artists, the venue, the biggest contract, the most important, the most indelible one is the one you sign with that audience. I'm going to be here, and maybe you don't dig what I'm doing, but I'm going to give you the best I got for this day.
Yeah, I mean, this is how I feel, and I've always said this, is that when it comes to VladTV, the guests will come and go. I had regular guests for years who one day decided they're not rocking with me anymore, and that's that. But the audience has been sticking around with me for 15 years.
Do you know what I never...
Go ahead.
I've been everywhere. I saw you on VLAD.
Right.
They call you VLAD. I'm
VLAD.
like, hey, I don't think
or
it's...
glad.
I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
So you have a reach, and maybe...
Yeah.
Listen, I think the reason I have such an affinity for you is because in the end, you buy me great liquor and cigars, which...
Can't downplay that
Come
part.
on, let's not pretend like that doesn't exist.
This new batch of cigars cost me $700 with
Let's
tax.
not-
Let's just point that out.
And the other thing is you love what you do as much as I love what I do. And I can't, that whole mutual combatants, even gladiators who had to fight with each other had to, fight life and death. Well, like we all gladiators, we understand what we do. I think I just have never, in my relationship dynamic with you, I've never had an occasion to mistrust you.
Right.
I don't know what everybody else, I can't say what that thing is. And I enjoy, it's times you come in, I go, I ain't got nothing to say. It's like, it's really.
Well, that's fine.
So but every time I see you, I know I'm gonna get some great cigars and great liquor that I'm going to take home.
and
And
the
have
best
some
people,
fun.
the best people in your life, I've realized over time, are there 100%.
Yeah.
They have 100% reliability. Now, life happens, and sometimes things get derailed, but they'll tell you why it's getting derailed. They just won't not show up, or they won't be there for you when they say. The most important people in my life, they're not 99%. They're 100%.
We did interviews during COVID. My wife wouldn't let nobody in.
I know, right? No, you're right. I came over during COVID with my cameraman.
Yeah, you're the first
house.
white guy we had in there that wasn't serving a warrant. Let me tell you that. Or selling insurance.
Selling insurance. I love it. You post this on your Instagram. Trump has said that he has done more for Black people than Lincoln.
I think that, and our people are entitled to their own. People forget how bad it was under him.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah.
They forget it. They forget that, gas was lower because nobody was using it. Or stuff was lower because nobody could go anywhere. Or I got $1,200 because I'll never forget that the ultimate test of leadership is when something bad happens, how you deal with it.
Yeah.
When COVID happened, you said it didn't exist.
Yep.
And that sunshine and bleach could kill it.
Right.
That tells you that when shit goes wrong, that'll never go away. The reason he didn't get elected to a second term is because he mishandled the biggest crisis, medical crisis or pandemic in the last 100 years. He pretended like he didn't exist. He fragmented the country. There are people, Herman Cain is dead because he believed him.
That is an absolute fact.
So you can say
Herman Cain had a tweet saying that, I'm going to this event and screw these masks. I will not be told what to do, only to catch COVID and die.
And they kept it. So your test of leadership, you failed. You can tell me about the economy. Inflation is high. Inflation is high. They act like it's an American phenomenon. Yeah, it's high throughout the entirety of the world.
Correct.
And ours is the lowest.
Yeah.
You created $5 million. He created 14 million jobs. You created. You say that. It was better on him. Then you're forgetting how shitty. I remember driving around and having to show people that I could be out at night.
Yeah.
Because how bad COVID was.
And you caught COVID. I remember the whole situation of you collapsing on stage.
So
it was a mess. And to think that these billions of dollars in aid was going to be spent and telling people they didn't have to pay rent for years was not going to catch up to the country is insane.
To the world.
To the world. But specifically in the country is insane.
We have look, if you think inflation's bad here, go to Europe.
Yeah. Go to Ecuador. It's like 70% inflation.
Like this is true. Now, I can't tell you, I live in California like you do.
Yep.
When's the last time I went and got gas for $4.65? Now, a lot of places that's high. California hasn't been that low in 7 years. When's the last time you put $4 anything in your gas tank?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a Tesla for the last 8 years. So
See, I hate when you say stuff like that. I hate when you say stuff like that.
I'm telling you.
That's why I make you buy cigars and shit, because you're not buying. See, fuck Vlad.
I haven't been to a gas station in 8 years.
Vlad is the Elon Musk of.
Trump also said that when they asked if he'll be a dictator, he said he'll be a dictator for a day when he gets elected.
I don't think that anything is substantively different than what Hitler was on. I think Hitler lost an election, or tried to steal it, almost was jailed, then won. I think that people can decide what it is they want. For me, it's not even hard. But for a lot of people, apparently, they have misgivings. I don't have that. But I think that he's told you exactly what he's going to do. And all these people who are so incensed. Am I mad about what's happening in Palestine and Gaza? Yes. Am I so mad about it that I'm going to vote against the interest of my granddaughters who have to live here? No. I have a granddaughter. My second granddaughter was born. She's 3 weeks old today.
Oh, congrats.
3 months old today.
Congrats.
She was born. I was the first one of my mother's children born with the full rights of an American citizen. My granddaughter was born with less rights than me. I'm not going to leave the world like that.
That's crazy.
And I think there are a lot of people who decide, you want to ban books, you want to ban speech, you want to ban love, and you want to exalt people who tried to overthrow the government. That's fine for you. It is not for me.
Here's an interesting question that I can only ask someone of approximately your age. Because a younger person won't quite understand the implications of this question. I was recently in Miami and I interviewed Vanilla Ice at his house.
He has a house?
He's got a lot of houses.
Does he? He bought a lot of real estate.
He is wealthy.
Yeah.
He's not rich. He literally owns hundreds of properties.
I bet.
We pulled up at his house and we're waiting for him to open the gate. And he comes out from the house next door and said, no, come in through this way. We come in through the gate and the two houses are connected through the backyard. And there's a third house with a helicopter pad. He has a $3 million car collection that we saw, and that was just part of his car collection. He has houses in Star Island. Like, it's insane how rich he is. Well, let me tell you something. One of the coolest parts of the interview was, Ice Ice Baby sampled Under Pressure by David Bowie and Queen. Right? He got sued for sampling that song. He realized, hey, instead of settling this lawsuit, he bought Under Pressure. And then he bought Ice Ice Baby. So he owns both of those songs. So, for example, when they did the whole Queen movie, he got paid for that. They have to go back to him for the licensing. But here's an interesting question, because Ice Ice Baby always kind of became the butt of everyone's jokes and, everything else like that. But when he came out in the hood, who do you think was more accepted in the very beginning? Vanilla Ice or Eminem?
Eminem. Easy.
You think?
Easy.
Hi, my name is became more accepted than Ice Ice Baby, which was I'm talking international hit.
You're talking about international. You said in the hood.
Okay.
Eminem could flow. Ice Ice Baby, Rob Van Winkle, whatever. What's his name?
Robert Van Winkle.
Yeah, ain't nobody. Your hair moves up. You got part. That ain't.
Well, he was doing the MC Hammer thing back then.
Right. Eminem was grimy and tricky lyrically, and basically, if the only thing different for him is he live in a trailer park and we live in projects. But I thought to date, how resonant you are is this. To date, Eminem is probably one of the top 10 greatest.
I'm not talking about to date, because obviously Eminem's career
but even when I first heard Eminem,
he had a lot of great albums, everything else like that. But I'm saying that Ice Ice Baby, I felt like when it came out, black, white, Spanish, Filipino, we were all bumping that.
No, yeah, I get it. That everybody else. But you said in the hood.
Okay, fair enough.
You said in the hood.
No, you're right. I said it. Yeah. Okay. So
That ain't
right.
what it.
And Eminem also had Dr. Dre behind him, which was a powerful.
I just thought
yeah.
for me, he hit a chord in me where I was like, I fuck with this dude.
Okay, fair enough. This is a conversation that started with the Michael Jai White interview. It kind of spread into the Ari Spears interview that I did. But what Michael said, which was interesting, he said, Samuel Jackson can essentially play almost every Denzel Washington role, if need be.
I disagree.
I'll do this. I'll experiment with y'all and you.
Yeah.
Okay, who's our number one black actor?
Denzel, maybe?
Okay, now so you say Denzel. Everybody says Denzel. Okay? Now I want you to imagine something. Not hating on Denzel, because Denzel's the shit. Denzel, and then where's Sam Jackson? Somewhere down here? To you?
I mean, Denzel has Oscars.
Okay.
Samuel does not.
Okay, well, let's talk about...
So that's, maybe in terms of kind of a purist kind of view of it, who's the better actor? He's got more accolades, I suppose.
Better actor? Okay, let's look at that, okay? So let's think about, recasting Sam Jackson in roles that Denzel played. Let's experiment with that. Now, could Sam Jackson have played an American gangster?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Could he have played
Training Day?
Training Day?
Yeah.
You know good and damn well he could have played Training Day, right? Could he have played, couldn't have played Malcolm X.
No.
Denzel looks more like him.
Yeah.
Fences?
Yeah.
Damn right.
Glory?
Glory?
I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Okay.
I think Denzel was sort of uniquely qualified.
Okay, now let's reverse it. What roles that Sam Jackson played could Denzel play?
Could Denzel play Nick Fury? Maybe. I can see it.
Pulp Fiction?
No.
You start going down the Snakes on the Plane. Other guys. All those, now when you start thinking about Samuel Jackson's work that nobody else could have played, don't you start doing this a little bit?
Samuel Jackson is a tremendous actor. But Denzel Washington, this is what I'll say about Denzel Washington. He's killed more white people in movies than anybody.
Okay.
He's killed Russians. He's killed Italians. He's killed cowboys. He's killed aliens. He's killed, and this dude is still...
Wait, Denzel's killed aliens?
What was that?
What aliens did Denzel kill?
Denzel killed...
Samuel Jackson killed a bunch of aliens.
No, but I'm talking about as the lead. Samuel Jackson, Denzel Washington killed...
Samuel Jackson had his own TV series on Disney. He's...
I wouldn't know that.
What do you call it? Nick Fury. Killed a whole bunch of aliens on that show.
I would know that. But I tell you what, Denzel Washington he killed Confederate white dudes in Glory. He killed this dude, poor white people, rich, he killed them all.
Okay.
And every role that I've ever seen Denzel Washington in, I believe, no matter what it is. I think Samuel is a great actor, but Denzel Washington I think he's literally probably one of the greatest people to ever, the greatest professionals to ever do anything. I think Kobe's the greatest basketball player I've ever seen, and he is as great an actor as I've ever seen. I think he's that great at what he does. And I'm not saying that Sam Jackson is a great actor, but Denzel Washington, Kawhi Leonard is a great basketball player, but he's not.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because, for example, because Michael, who is an actor, right? So I have to kind of give him a certain level of grace that
Have you seen me in Soul Plane? I'm an actor too now, baby.
I have seen.
Did you see me in Chasing Poppy? What's wrong with you?
I have. But Michael's been in a few more movies than you.
Yes.
Right? He's also been in some big ones like Batman and stuff like that.
Michael was in Batman?
He was.
Okay.
The one with Heath Ledger.
Oh wow. The great one.
The great one.
Yeah.
Remember he played the gangster that the Joker killed essentially?
Oh, yeah. Maybe I came in after he died. I'm sorry.
But he broke it down. He goes, look at like a movie like Fences. It's like you could put Samuel in that role, and Samuel would do a phenomenal job in that role. Disagree?
I do.
Okay.
I don't think everybody can play everything. I think Denzel is one of the Denzel, Tom Hanks. My favorite actor is Don Cheadle. I think so
he's dope.
I think my three favorite actors are probably Denzel, Tom Hanks, and Don Cheadle. But I think
Denzel, Tom Hanks, and Don. Okay, that's three powerhouses. Yeah.
But I would say that Don Cheadle can play. I've been friends with Don for a long time. I didn't even know he wasn't African because I thought he was African. I saw Hotel Rwanda. I thought he was African. I've been around. Like before I caught COVID, I was hanging out with him. So I think there are people that can play anything. I think that Sam Jackson is a tremendous actor. I think that there are people that have another gear that other people don't. It's not bad.
Well, look, Sam doesn't have any Oscars, so there's that. Denzel has 2, right? Training Day and Glory.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Yeah. Training Day and Glory. 2 Oscars.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know this. You gotta, let me tell you something.
I'm not saying that's the end all and be all, but it's a pretty...
There's a difference. If Denzel had done Black Snake Moan or Snakes on the Plane.
Right. You can't do comedy.
I think it would have been a different movie.
He can't do comedy. But look, I remember I had Fred the Hammer Williamson on my show. What was that look?
I'm just listening
What's
to
that
you,
look?
baby.
No, I want to know what's behind the look.
I'm listening to you tell me about Fred the Hammer Williamson.
So Michael Jai White set up the interview. So I arranged halfway through the interview for him to come in and just join him because this is essentially Michael's idol.
Fred the Hammer.
Fred, right? That's the one Michael used to say he used to go to drive-ins, not being able to afford the drive-in, would just sit there silently watch him on the screen as a kid and just want to be like him.
Wow, okay.
Right? That's how much he admired him. And I remember, but Fred is Fred, right? So Fred is very opinionated and will say some wild shit. I remember he was like, Samuel Jackson, his movies don't make any money. And you see Michael's face, he's like, You said something interesting as well. You said that when you look at Hollywood today, there's a lot of black stars out there, but when you see the major films, it'd be like one black star and a white supporting cast.
Well, a star can't be a star by himself. Somebody has to make him a star. And what makes him a star is how many projects that he does, Samuel Jackson ain't the greatest fucking actor out there, but he's making gazillion dollars because when they think of 5 roles, they think of Samuel Jackson, Denzel Washington, blah, blah, blah. Maybe 3 or 4 guys, right? But the black audiences in the ghetto don't really give a shit about these guys. Let me tell you. They don't give a shit about Samuel Jackson. They don't give a shit about Denzel. They like guys like him, guys like me, but we ain't getting 20 million a picture or 10 million a picture. We got to fight and scrap and dig our own shit. We got to make ourselves viable by ourselves. They get created. But if a studio brings them in, they just automatically, this is Samuel Jackson movie, right? And how many fucking movies has Samuel Jackson made that made money? I mean, the money that he makes and the money that it costs to make a film, they don't make even, man. They don't make any fucking money. I'm gonna tell you now, those movies don't do shit. Because the budgets are too big, and Samuel Jackson ain't that big of a draw. But to white Hollywood, that's all they know. Denzel Washington, Samuel Jackson, and maybe 2 other guys. I can't even remember who they are.
Yeah, Samuel's in the new Marvel series. The Nick Fury series.
Well, that's where he belongs. Put him in the Marvel series. It could be anybody. That could be you in the fucking Marvel series to make you a star.
Actually, Nick Fury is actually a white character in the comic books, but they actually made him black on screen. And it worked.
Yeah.
Samuel pulled it off.
But they can put you in it. And
Sure.
pull it off. As long as it's comedy, and as long as it's cartoon shit, they can put you in it. But don't bring that shit to the ghetto and say, this is the bad motherfucker. No, come on.
We looked it up afterwards. Samuel Jackson has made more money in the box office than any other actor, living actor in America.
That's no doubt.
Because there's so many Marvel movies thrown in and Star Wars and everything else like that. I didn't realize how much of a big deal Samuel is.
Or that Williamson played football when the helmets were leather. You didn't remember that either.
He was the Super Bowl one. Not leave out all the other Roman numerals. Yeah. One. It wasn't even called the Super Bowl at the time they did it.
And that's why he says this shit he says.
You had some comedy routines that you posted recently. You went on a whole tirade about how Jesus was white.
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, first off, that came from Megan Kelly, who said that Jesus was white. She had this thing. And initially, like, if you read about Jesus, you thought he was white. Like, 'cause he turned all those tables in that temple and didn't go to jail. Like, I was like, wow. But when he went to jail for a crime he didn't commit, you knew he was a nigga. Like, Jesus couldn't go through an airport, like, because Jesus had Skinner brass hair last war. You know he couldn't go through an airport looking like that. Hey, Jesus, whatever your name is, come here and put your sandals in the back and take these 12 niggas with you. Now, so you, Jesus, we'll see if you can make your flight on time. I just think there's a way. The thing that I find funny about most things like that is Jesus looked more like the people who are fighting on the other side in Gaza than Brad Pitt from Legends of the Fall. If Jesus came back and saw that white dude on the cross, he would wonder who was the acrobat. I didn't die so y'all can make Cirque du Soleil. What the hell is this? So I just think it's an amazing thing. In order to worship Jesus, a lot of people have to create him in their image, and we're not creating his.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I remember I did a tweet. I said, for anyone who feels they don't have a lot of followers, Jesus had 12. And 2 of them turned against him. And people say, what do you mean 2? And I said, well, Judas and Peter. Right? Because Peter actually, when he came forward, he said, I don't know him.
I don't know who's
that? I don't know that guy. You know what I mean? It just shows that having a lot of followers
don't mean
not always a good thing.
Yeah, who?
And you've also said that OJ did it.
I know OJ did it.
You know OJ did it. And the reason is?
Because you see this Akita right here?
Yep.
That's my boy.
We have a big ass dog right here.
That's my boy Charlie.
We'll put your dog in the shot a little later.
He goes with me everywhere.
Yeah.
Now,
this is the first time I've seen you. This is the first time you come here with your dog.
Yeah. But he goes on, like, you see me put niggas on the road with me all the time. If something happened and we got into it, one or two things would happen. Either he would be cut up, hurt, or you would be cut up and hurt. They just don't stop. So the fact they will not. The fact that that dog was frantically going back and forth meant that he didn't know. He knew the person who was in there.
So you're saying that Nicole Brown Simpson had an Akita that also belonged to OJ at one point.
I'm saying that dog knew whoever it was.
Yeah. So when he showed up at her door, allegedly, the dog was okay with it.
Yes. He had to be. When I passed out, Derek had to pull him all away so the fucking.
Oh, he was there at the comedy show?
Yeah.
Oh.
They had to pull him off so they could work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what this is. Like, he's not, so I know, like, we've been doing an interview a couple hours. Look, he may make noise.
The dog is
He's not
chilling.
gonna move at all.
Not
but
at all.
if you got up and said, I'm gonna do something, there'd be a whole different thing.
Well, listen, I was actually supposed to interview OJ.
Well, he's on the great pod. He's a sportscaster for.
Right. Well, see, what he does with Cameron and Mace is not what I would have done. See, a VladTV interview is a little different than talking about sports. Yeah. We were supposed to do a serious sit-down interview, and we were going to touch on the murder, but I basically agreed with his assistant that I would come into it with the basis that he was found not guilty. So I'm not going to sit there and dig into.
In what trial?
Well, in the murder trial,
but not the civil trial.
No, he was, well, yeah. I mean, and we were going to talk about the whole Vegas thing in depth and everything else like that. He was totally willing to talk about that. But in terms of the murder trial, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go into blood evidence and whatever else. I'm not going to dig into that. That was going to be the assumption, and I was going to pay him $100,000 for the interview, right? And it fell apart because his guy said he wanted the total amount before he actually came into the room. And I'm like, are you fucking serious right now? This guy owes like $10 million to the Nicole Brown family, as well as his own kids, because the kids were part of that civil lawsuit as well.
But they
you
can't
mean to tell me
is retirement, right? So yeah.
Well, yeah. So he was able to keep it. But I'm telling you, but the fact we had to go through someone else, because whatever, if I had officially paid him, it would be seized by the families, right? So the whole thing was underhanded anyways, but I'm like,
it's OJ. I got it.
It's OJ. But I'm like, I'm not going to pay this whole amount because he could just drive off. Right. And then what?
You could catch him in a Bronco. You don't slow down.
You got a Tesla. What if he pulled up in a Bronco? Right, that would have been crazy.
Shit.
Yeah, I don't think that that OJ will really say what happened. Even on his deathbed, I don't think. Yeah.
Listen, Christopher Darden's running for judge. Like,
he is?
Yeah, here.
Okay.
My wife
interview him as well.
Yeah, he's running for judge, and he had a thing the other day, and I was flying in, or I would have gone. You know, he was a little. I didn't go in. I didn't get in time, but he's running. He's running for judge, and I think it's such a different juxtaposition because when I was younger, I wanted him to be found innocent because of all the shit that was in my head. But I mean, now in my heart of heart, I know he did it, and I believe he did it. I remember I was the first one and only one. I did commercials with Johnny Cochran. I was the first one. I had him on my TV show. I was the first one to have him on TV, and we had conversations. And one of the things I'm ashamed of is that I let what I wanted to be true tell me what I believe to be true. And I would never do that now, but that's being young, and that's,
Yeah, but it's, you see it on social media now. Like, people will side with the person that more closely resembles them a lot of times.
It's tribalism.
And it's, it's tribal. It doesn't matter. It's like, okay, I like Tory Lanez. I look like Tory Lanez. I'm not a woman, so I'm going to say that Megan Thee Stallion's a liar.
Yep.
I don't care that 12 jurors unanimously found him guilty. Unanimously, they saw all the evidence. There's multiple witnesses. Tory's never said his version of the story, but because I'm male and I may or may not be black, but a lot of times I've seen it go down the gender lines most of the time, because I've done so many polls, 90%, oh, he didn't do it, that people will side with that. You know what I mean? I understand, me being white, I'm going to have people that will always side against me no matter what. And that's fine. I can live with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, ultimately, you had a mostly black jury, right? Mm-hmm. Who have dealt with police brutality and everything else like that. You also, the trial was what, a year long?
Yeah.
By the time you got to the end, the only jury members that were there were essentially unemployed, didn't have a lot of education and stuff like that. Like, everyone who had real jobs and was educated, they all got out of that.
We gotta get out of this.
Yeah, I got a job.
I remember when I wrote a book called How Not to Get Shot and Other Advice by White People. It's about when I gone to Megyn Kelly's show on Fox, and she had Mark Furman on before me.
Okay.
And I'm like,
that's crazy.
So I remember seeing all of that, and younger, I'd have been swayed by, oh, he said nigga, so he had to, so, but in the end, I just listen. I think that when you're younger, you make decisions that are emotionally based. You just have an emotion about it, And when you older, you are more sober. Not that I'm sober. I'm talking about more deliberate about your perspectives. And I think that in the end, people are people. And I hate that a family lost their children. And I hate that nobody got found for it. I mean, that's a level of closure that nobody will ever have. And I hate that I wasn't in that mindset when it happened. So all you can do is try to do your best you can from this point on. But I believe now he did it.
Yeah. I mean, I interviewed Alan Dershowitz, was part of the legal team. And we talked about how, you know, like lawyers like Shapiro didn't want to turn this into a racial thing, but it did. And
well, lawyers are supposed to do what they got to do to win.
Yeah, but Shapiro came out afterwards and said that he regrets being
That's
part of that trial and everything else like that. And listen, Cochran was phenomenal.
He's supposed to do whatever you got to do that is legal to win.
Yeah.
As a lawyer.
Yeah. I mean, Dershowitz also represented Epstein. You know? So there's that part. He also represented Trump. So you know,
gotta do what you got to do.
He got cussed out by Larry David over that shit. You know what I mean? So it happens. Like, you know, a lawyer's gonna lawyer. And you know, you could get mad at him, but
if she go bad, you want a lawyer that's gonna go all out and win for you. That'll bare his teeth and win for you.
And OJ, you know, I mean, he never took the stand and he won. And he's holding that forever.
Yep.
He can't get charged for it again. And
I remember when he said when he he was like he weighed in on the Will Smith Chris Rock thing. Remember he said, I wouldn't help that. I'm like, nigga, you kill people. We talking.
Oh yeah, right.
We're talking to the non-murders. All right? Let's keep this with the people who didn't.
Right. Maybe you and Sammy the Bull could have a conversation.
Right. Don't have this one.
Chime in on that.
OJ says that Chris, like, come on, shut the fuck up. Stop
it. That's how we're going to end it. DL Hughley, man. Always a pleasure. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. Likewise. Happy holidays to you, man.
Happy holidays. Peace.